Guess we're getting started. Let me get my phone really fast, y'all. For chat. We seem to be changing. Up and down, walk away. Same thing is that I can feel love. Then you stop. For a part, you stop. And you stop. Just a second. The problem with Blizzard balancing. What would be a good quality picture for today's stream? Thanks for the sub. I don't have chat pulled up just yet, so I don't know who's here. Oh, hey. Give me just a second. I'm gonna post a picture of Sparker. Oh yeah, yeah. Sorry, gotta announce it on my Discord as well. Hey Shinda. What would be a good quality meme? That'd be a good quality meme. A little bit boomer, but it's all right. They'll live. Okay, let me get my phone pulled up here so we can actually look at Twitch chat here. So, disaster. The patch wiped all my codes, and because I'm a dense idiot, somehow I did not even remember that that was going to be a thing. I don't know why. I normally am good at this. Like, I pre-record some of them if I need to, but I just didn't. So I had to call one of my reviews short, and I had to cancel a replay review as well. So yeah, disaster. And I knew it was coming. Like, it's not even like a surprise. Like, it's 2 weeks after Lifeweaver. Obviously gonna put him in competitive, but maybe I wasn't expecting a full another wipe. But man, is it tiresome. Ayo, how was my break? My break was pretty good. I'm not gonna lie to you and say that it was excellent. It was okay. It was good. It was all right. Could have been worse. It was a little bit more busy than I wanted it to be in terms of like a lot of IRL stuff. So I was like, I wasn't able to get as much project stuff, not as relaxed as much, but it was all right. Marl Karks, thank you so much for the sub, mate. Heaven, hello. Bro sings like Sigma. Huh. Locky, hello. Hey, Pear. Skirch, Pain. Yeah, it was indeed Pain. I was like, we still have a fun stream coming up ahead. Vengeance Avenger finally caught a stream live and binging your VOD reviews and edge content shows. Nice. Glad to hear it was helpful. And welcome to the stream. We've got some fun stuff to do today. We're gonna be doing a little bit more of a variety stream today, especially with the replay review getting crushed under the foot of Jeff Kaplan's spirit. But yeah, so it is what it is. Hello. Surely, chat, my Marvel tier list on YouTube will get over 100,000 views. Surely it won't bomb. Surely my variety content will succeed, right, guys? I don't even care. I don't even care, bro. I don't even care. I just want to do fun stuff. Honestly, half the stuff I post, I know is going to get a bomb for views. I will say this: the Mercy community, I swear, is like inbred, and I'm not saying that insultingly. Okay, that's insulting, but not inbred. It's like it's tight knit. Like whenever I post a Mercy VOD review, it gets like no views because I think all the Mercy players subscribe to like a few channels, and then they don't look at like anybody else. So it's kind of a shame. You're clipped out of contest. You're Doom buddy. Dang it, man. Hey, Dolas. Yeah, let's get the start in just a second. So 12 people will remember you at 100. Yeah, you're welcome, Lucky. Congrats on the Masters too. Well done. Cheers, Shinda. Glad to help. Yeah. I didn't even mean to insult. I wasn't insulting the community. I'm just saying that like there's Neandra and Skiesti are already, and there's like a couple other ones that are already like good Mercy things. So it's like I'm not even like I think I have a different perspective than them, which would be helpful. But they're already pretty good as it is. So yeah, it is what it is. And honestly, yeah, okay, all right, Dolas, let's do this. Yo, what's up? Appreciate you doing this.
Yeah, hi, how?
All right.
How's been grass touching?
Grass touching was okay. I touched a lot of grass, so much grass that I actually like gave myself like a freaking blister in my toe. We were playing like ultimate frisbee, and I like rolled my toe and like ripped the skin off. It was not good, but it's okay. It'll heal fast. But how are you? How are you feeling?
Oh, now I'm achy. I mean, yeah, blisters are not nice. I had quite a lot of accident with my feet in my life too.
Yeah, it's
a price worth paying for having a good time, right?
Yeah, it's okay. It happens. Okay, so I'm pulling up. So I guess for context, you old student of mine, been around for a long time, years and years and years and years, and you did a map chart that you wanted to share, or I was interested in. Have it pulled up on stream right now about your win rates on different maps over the course of like an entire season, and we were going to discuss it. So I've got it pulled up right now. Break me down.
Could you stream on Discord as well, so there's no delay?
Yeah. Sure.
Okay.
You asked too much.
Actually, my win rate is just a small thing for me. The main reason for me to why I was doing this in the first place was because I got a feeling that the game is crazy unbalanced in a sense that games don't feel competitive. Like there's a lot of games when one team just rolls over another one. So I decided that I will dedicate entire season 3 to measuring whether that's true or not. Is it just my impression?
Right.
And also gather a few data along the way, since I'm already doing this, which possibly could be useful.
Sure.
So what is this data? Let's start with the input. The most to the right thing, the cyan thing, it's the length of each game in seconds.
Okay.
And just so we know how long every map is. Now
and this is this leads to here, right? The average length here.
Yes.
Okay.
That is the average length of the game. Next in the input, the pink stuff.
Yeah.
That is actually how competitive the game felt. So obviously it's somewhat subjective, but for this data to have any merit, I decided to make certain hard rules for myself. So I was grading each game's competitiveness on a scale from 1 to 5, and 1 is like a total rollover. So one team didn't even get to play the game. Like if they maybe win a team fight, that's only because they stacked 5 ultimates, or maybe it was just right in your spawn on the push map and you lost in 4 minutes anyway, right? Something like that. 2 is also when one team dominates throughout the entire length of the game, but the other team actually gets to play the game.
Right.
Maybe they win a neutral team fight or a team fight with a small advantage, something like that. But it's still when result is never in doubt.
Okay.
3 is when for any period of time, like it could be even like 1 minute, but there is a period when the game was contested.
Right.
Like maybe later one team got a decisive advantage, but at least for a time you felt like anyone could win.
Uh-huh.
4 is when that feeling you had for a majority of the game. So 4 are actually quite already very competitive games. Like maybe it's like only in the second half or second smaller part when one team pull forward.
Yeah.
And 5s are reserved for one team fight decides.
Okay.
So
what
it can't
about
go any
6
closer.
and I saw an 8 here as well.
Actually, I'm only talking about the column names. And then I would just mark how many games
like
were
these?
in each category. Yes.
Oh,
And also
it's the
it's
quantity
divided
of the games that were 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I'm an idiot.
Yes,
Okay, so
yes.
so this is what we're doing. So I was gonna say 0 are really uncompetitive games. No, I'm an idiot. Okay, so you had. I'm trying to like look at. Okay, so it looks like. Okay, so I'm just trying to interpret this data. So first thing I'm noticing.
Just one more thing, because it is also divided into plus and minuses. That doesn't affect the competitiveness. It's just on the plus there are games that I won, and on the minus are the games that I lost. And I made this division anticipating that winning may bias me, because when you lose, games tend to feel less competitive, right? You know the feeling.
Yes.
It's easier to see your work done than your opponent's work done on you, right?
Right. Okay,
So
and then
I was the smartest boy here.
That makes sense. So I'm seeing right now, for example, interestingly enough, that at least for you, Blizzard World looked like it wasn't that competitive of a mode for you, because it was both with the wins and with the losses, felt like some pretty rough games.
Yeah, like basically one team is recapping and then either full holding or full holding for 3.5 minutes, and then the first point gets caught, but then a full hold on second point. Plenty of games like that.
Interesting. Now, it's also interesting to note that Circuit Royale was fairly middle of the road. Some competitive ones that you lost, but also we had a lot of stomps that you won on Circuit Royale.
Yes, that's possibly related also to my playstyle. Like I could imagine that certain players have a playstyle that if you take an early advantage, it's easy to snowball and roll along, and if you don't get the early advantage, it's crap. Okay. I don't know if that's really the case, but
okay,
that's some theory.
Okay, I'm trying to see where the outliers here are. Now, did you have a way of ranking the overall? Like strength?
Yes, we will move on to results, because results are all the data put together.
Right.
But there's last one category in input, and that was specifically for you.
Sure.
The left cyan one is how did the game result go in relation to result of first team fight. So first column is you won a first team fight and then you won the game. The second is you lost the first team fight, but then won the game. And then you won the game, but you won the team fight but lost the game, and eventually you lost both the first team fight and the entire game. So first team fight and the game. Yeah.
Interesting. So you lost the first team fight, but won the game. You won the game after winning the first team fight, and you lost the first team. This is a crazy stat. On Antarctic Peninsula, when you lost the first fight, right? The first fight, not the first round, but the first fight. You lost 18 times, whereas when
also worth noting that for control I do it separately for every point, because there's no other way of doing this. And for push it's for the entire game, and for the symmetrical modes it's impossible to collect.
Interesting. Now what I'm
So now we can look at the results, because it's clearly compiled, like the outliers. So I'm gonna go from right to left, because I think that's the best. Most to the right is win rate. So as you can see, most maps are more or less around 50%, naturally. But the biggest outlier is Havana. I have no idea why. I just kept losing on Havana on every roll.
What DPS do you play? I forget. Or support or tank. I don't even remember, honestly.
Let me pull out my Season 3 chart on my laptop, so I can tell you exactly. But yeah, one thing I'm interested is, what do you think about this, one player sample, but the discrepancy in relation to the map pool, like if there's a bigger map pool, how does this affect? Because I can imagine, a season when there's no Junker Town, no Lijiang Tower, no Oasis, and no Ilios for me. So none of my best maps, and maybe some other through. I could imagine that this map pools can heavily affect one's performance.
I think so too. I think the bigger the map pool, the more extreme the variance in win rates. Yeah. Because you have less practice on your bad maps. And so, like, let's say Havana, that's a bad map for you. You don't get the reps that you need to kind of figure out the life hacks and how to play Havana better.
True.
Right? So it continues to be a weakness, right?
Yes, if there was a smaller map pool, if there was a smaller map pool, I could imagine that in 2 or 3 weeks, this 20 gets turned into 40% as I simply play this map pool out, and it has to average out at some point.
Right, and 63 turns into 58 or something like that, just because the enemy, you like your strengths are, like, for example, like, let's say you know a really cool like strat on Junkertown that you win, or in Lijiang, or you're very confident in those maps. That trick is less abusable the more time that other people get those reps on that map as well, I guess.
True. So as for the heroes that you asked, I had 9 hours on Diva, 7 on Mercy, 6 on Brigitte and Mei, 5 on Junkrat, 3 on Sombra, 3 on Reinhardt, 3 on Sigma.
Because none of those outside of the Sigma feel like they'd be particularly good at Havana. I mean, unless
Sigma was the only one that felt good, if I recall.
Unless you're playing all 15 games in Sigma, which I doubt, that probably explains the 20%. Because Diva, Junkrat, Sombra's okay, but even not standout heroes in Havana.
I had more or less the equal amount of playtime on each role, so let's assume there are like 5 games on tank and the others on DPS and support, where they felt particularly terrible.
Okay, break me down the next columns here. So win rate.
Okay.
What is this?
FTFCR is first teamfight conversion rate. So how often first teamfight win converts into a map win? And we see it's actually crazy high. Like, first team fight is so important to winning the entire game, particularly on like Antarctic Peninsula, Nepal, and New Queen Street. New Queen Street is crazy. Like, for the longest time, it had 100%. I was wondering when would be the first time that someone won Snowball.
I wish to goodness that we had like this for like a massive sample size. You know what I'm saying? Is this something that is easy for you to maintain into next season as well, or is it a pain? I feel like it's probably a pain.
The entirety is a pain, I'll admit, but if I'm only to collect first team point conversion rates, probably won't be as much. There's another photo I sent you, which is the summary for all map types, and it's spoiler, it's about 76% both for control and for push. But as we can see, it's really more about 80. It only gets lowered to 76 by 2 brilliant maps for both types. These are, let me see, Esperanza, which is like easy to reverse with, I guess.
Right, yeah.
Yes, and Lijiang Tower, which is, I guess I found the reason why Lijiang Tower is the most liked universally control map. Because it doesn't feel like the team who just gets the first team fight just snowballs till the end.
I think it's
compared to Nepal. It's unrecontestable on Nepal.
Yeah,
right?
Nepal is rough. I mean, I think if you think about it objectively, like Lijiang Tower outside of Garden, which is that nasty bridge, Night Market and Control Center both feel like not overwhelmingly defender advantage. Unless you're playing like a Mei comp. And in Nepal, Sanctum, very rough to retake.
And again, I played a lot of Mei and Junkrat, and look, it's still only 60 something. So
interesting. Again, obviously, there's not enough sample size to pull any crazy conclusions from this, but it's very interesting nonetheless. Interesting. Okay, so keep going here. What is the comp stuff here?
Competitiveness. It's the average competitiveness, average of the pink judgment. I rescaled it.
So
I rescaled it to 0. Yes, not an accumulation. It's an average, but I rescaled it to 0 to 100. So 100 would be all 5s and 0 would be all 1s. Just because this, more visually pleasant with these bigger numbers.
Now we would think that these two columns would be correlated, right? First fight win rate compared to winning the map versus competitiveness. Because it feels like losing first fight doesn't necessarily put you in a competitiveness hole.
Yes, however, on Nepal, I found that it's often like you get these 99% holes, and maybe there's a flip on the last moment, and there is a 99. So, like, kind of, Nepal had a lot of these 99 to 100, and then 100 to 99, and then 3 rounds, and that's what kind of made it feel competitive, compared to Lijiang Tower, where maybe it was easier to recontest. It wasn't as clean, but maybe because I'm just really good at the map and have a proper hero pool, it felt kind of easier. Like it never went. Look, there's 0 5s there. Like it never went to the last team fight.
Right.
So it also can be, a bit of a randomness. Like to the left maximum, there's a column which says how many games there are. So it's only on Midtown I have 20 games because there's deviation? Just a ton of maps. Yes, standard deviation. It's the next three columns are all related to length.
Right.
So the length of a map is just a sample, but a piece of data. But how do you interpret it? And I figured that the best way to interpret it is the standard deviation, which shows us how consistent the games are. And the biggest outlier here is Rialto. I prefer looking at the standard deviation by percent, because Rialto, I can explain why it's so crazy. It's because it's either a first point, often first corner full hold, or it goes to the full completion. Like there was like 1 or 2 games maybe that ended on the second point, and otherwise it's like only full holds or stomps.
Yeah, no, I can definitely see that here. I feel like this part of this data as a whole could be kind of extrapolated in terms of how the team balances, or if they're able to even adjust maps in the future. I was thinking a lot more about this since my sniper video from yesterday, because honestly, the escort thing kind of came as a surprise to myself. I was like, oh yeah, wow, how have I never thought about this? And I feel like this is something to consider as well. Like if we were to like blow this up to like 1,500 games, over like a broad player base from all ranks, and people with broad hero pool support taking DPS. You could.
Yes, it's also worth noting that I was playing this season around the 3,000 old SR, so high plat, low diamond mostly.
Right.
So it could be that for both extremes, like this data looks completely different.
Right.
I was actually thinking like maybe we could prepare for the next season like a default spreadsheet, much simplified, of course, because I know what everything here means, like with instructions, and kind of through many creators help it spread around, so there's like 100 people at least who will collect this data, and then accumulate it. Maybe we'll get like a few thousand games sample.
Right, because the big thing would be the
and from different SRs.
And you probably wouldn't need 5 numbers either. You'd probably need, what, 3 each?
I'm not sure about that. Because then it kind of becomes like, how do you exactly define it? Like maybe you can nose a game that which felt like you had no chance, and then the games that felt like both teams were in the game. Maybe this kind of binary.
Yeah, I guess my point would be like you won, but it was not competitive at all. Reasonably competitive, very competitive. Just for simplicity of the inputs, like you were saying.
Maybe. But still, I think that for this particular one, it was very clear to define. Of course, winning the first team fight kind of requires sometimes looking into the replay viewer. It's difficult, so I'm not sure how we would scale that up. Yeah. Also, it's important that sometimes it's not clear like who won the first team fight. Like a few times I was trying to focus it strictly on the full team fight. So if like one team got an early pick, the other backed off, and the full engagement actually happened 30 seconds later, then only the second engagement I counted.
Yeah.
There were often situations where one team would even get like a 30% point capture first, because they kind of, that's how they positioned.
Right.
But then they would lose the team fight. Yes. And I would still mark this as a lost team fight.
Right. Interesting. Yeah, see, man, like I feel like this is something like I'm gonna be talking about this in like an hour actually, but like I feel like this is so valuable. Like surely Blizzard could get something out of something like this, but like blowing it up to like a big scale, and surely they at least must have numbers on this. They must.
There's one more column still, which I want to discuss. UF.
Yeah.
It stands for unnamed factor because I didn't think of a name for it. And it basically shows a relation between the average game length and average game's competitiveness. Because I was thinking, obviously, long games are gonna be on average more competitive. Like that's just the nature of it.
Right.
But what if there's a map? Blizzard World was the map that sparked this idea, because Blizzard World often had these games that felt completely uncompetitive, like -1s, 2s, and stuff. But still, often there would be a first point capture eventually in the fourth minute, or simply the nature that it's a hybrid would make it so in 50% of such one-sided games, one team would need to first 3 cap, and only then the other team could be full health. And the other one, of course, you first full health and then you cap in 30 seconds, so it's shorter.
Okay.
So yes, as you can see, Blizzard World is by far the negative. Like it has such a long game, so long games.
But they're not competitive.
But they're not competitive. Even if you like completely roll the enemy team, the map is just so long that they still get to engage you and lose, engage and lose, engage and lose, and so many times. Compared it to like Esperanza or Nepal, which is unrecontestable, where if the game is uncompetitive, then you're put out of your misery quite fast, right?
Mm-hmm.
You didn't get to suffer for long.
Mm-hmm.
It's not necessarily that the very high UF is good, but certainly very low UF is like really, really, really bad. Like Blizzard World is just a bad design. I hate this map. It feels the worst. Even though it doesn't have really that bad of a win rate in my stats, I probably hated Blizzard World the most.
Well, you would see with Blizzard World a lot of times where people would get full held first or full held on second, but they still have to play out the entire attack, or even they don't cap third and they have to play out the entire attack. So like every single time with Blizzard World, it's like 4 minutes of time that has been wasted with no progress, either on first, second, or third.
Yes, exactly. So now we can go to the second chart, which is a summary for all map types, because this is spread between single maps.
Right.
And here we get actually more games per map type, so maybe the data is more reliable. Again, we have the average time, my win rate, also quite telling how I have a huge win rate on Control. Also, one thing I should clarify, I had a win rate between 51 and 52% for the majority of the season. It's only in the last 10 days that I suddenly was losing everything. Like in the last week, I went 6 out of 40 something games. Last week was terrible. So yeah, I don't know. I actually think that might have been some kind of matchmaking bug, because apparently Blizzard was messing around with competitive matchmaking and many players were reporting multiple bugs. Like, for example, Emong and Flats found out that their positions on the top 500 leaderboard were going up and down even many hours after the season ended. Like, there was clearly something wrong. And also at the start of season 4, after this terrible week I had, I went close to like 20 wins in a row suddenly, and they were all completely uncompetitive. Like I kept rolling teams. I couldn't explain this. It was just some crazy bug. Now it's more or less back to normal, but there was like a super terrible period and great periods. I couldn't explain this. I couldn't find the relation to my play. Just it felt mismatched. Then we have competitiveness, and it's actually pretty level across all game modes, so I think it's more related to matchmaking more than specific game modes. Like I programmed the coloring to go full scale from red to green, but you see this difference. The difference too is here, like 0.004 of the actual number from 1 to 5. And then there's a row competitive win to loss ratio. This basically was to measure how biased I was when I was winning towards grading the game as more competitive. So it's about 0.4 of a grade when we scale that back up. And funny thing, like push is kind of an outlier. Like the games feel very objective to judge, no matter if you lose or win. And then hybrids felt like so more rewarding when you win than when you lose. I think it's the nature of the point capture. I could imagine that if 2CP was still there, the win bias could be even bigger.
Sure. Okay.
And once again, the unnamed factor, which is again the relation between competitiveness and length. Again, unsurprisingly, the symmetrical maps, particularly hybrids, which contains the control points, the games feel similarly competitive to push and control, but they take so much time. Even if they're not really competitive.
Push might be uncompetitive, but it puts you out of your misery.
Yes, exactly. Like push has some of the shortest games, minus the people who are leaving early, but like the shortest full games, often even under 4 minutes easily. Quite a few of such games.
Right.
And then it's a spread with every grade. It's not really that important, but I thought that maybe if something weird popped out there, we could also discuss. Like maybe I have a bias to not really grade maps the 3 grade,
Right.
But there's still one section, like when we go to the last column, like all game modes combined, all game modes together, and we see the grades 1 and 2, or -1 and 1 or 2, basically the first purple and blue section.
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about? Yes. Look at the percentages of games.
Yeah.
Like even if we take my bias into consideration, it's like 1/3 of the games are not competitive at all, in the sense that one team doesn't even get to play the game, at all. Because 2 are also when one team gets completely rolled, but they at least got to play the game, getting rolled.
So this number here, 40% of the losses feel uncompetitive, 28% of the wins feel uncompetitive. If we combine those numbers, we get 68% divided by 2, so that's going to be 34%.
It's above 35.04 exactly.
Right.
It's above.
So 35% of the games win or loss feel uncompetitive. So over a
and
third.
If we sum up the 1 and 2, which are both the grades for games where there was no what do I want to say? Where there was no doubt never which team is gonna win, but you either got or didn't get to have some feel that like you're playing the game. It still amounts to over 60%, right?
Right. And even if we add, and especially if we add the 25 and 29% here, 54, 27, that's an additional 27% on top of the 33 or 35% that we already had. So
so there are like 62% of games where there isn't even a minute when it feels like one team, like both teams can win. Like one team gets an early advantage and rolls, just stomps absolutely from there. It's just a matter of whether you actually get to do something or you don't even get to, get your head out of your spot. Something like that.
I think I am a fan of 5v5, but I do think that has to be the biggest drawback of 5v5, where there is more statistical variance. Because there's one fewer player in each team, there is a significantly like your individual impact is greater, so there's more agency, but that also can be a curse where if you had let's try to explain it to chat. If Overwatch 2 was 100 versus 100, you had 100 players versus 100 players, right?
Elo hell.
It would be hard. It would be very elo hell. It'd be incredibly sluggish, but it would be almost impossible to have a quote unquote slaughter, especially without the coordination. It would just be a massive slaughter and just these big bodies slamming into each other, and it'd be essentially stalemates, and the games would be very close, right? But if you had, as you reduce the number of players, the statistical variance increases. And so you're going to have more games that go one way or the other. Even just by the nature of, even if the matchmaking was technically accurate, a bad game from one player matters a whole lot more than it did in 6v6. A one player in a 6v6 was carryable, and 5v5 it's a lot harder to carry a bad player.
Exactly. Especially a frustrated player as someone who's giving up, and especially that the role that got removed was a tank. Like, I imagine that if a DPS player got removed and it was 2-1-2, then the games would still be much more competitive, I imagine.
Right. Interesting. That's fascinating. I don't know that you could fix that, honestly. I think you could definitely make sure that matchmaking is punishing tilt queuers harder, or in Smurfs harder, which it seems to be trying to do. But I mean,
I think this could be addressed by having the rank fluctuation kind of different between ranks. Like, it exists to an extent, but only in like high 4,500s, where in the All-Star system, basically, whether you were in Bronze or in Masters, every win or loss was about 25 points, like so maybe 26, maybe 24, one way or another. And only when you got to like top 500, it would start dropping, and maybe you would move by 10 or 8 points. I think this should be somehow bigger. This may require a total rescale of NSR or matchmaking rating. I'm not sure. So that maybe it's not like there's a grandmaster, there's movement, then there's a 3 times bigger every player based movement, but maybe there's a grandmaster movement, 2 times bigger master movement, 4 times bigger plat and diamond, and then 10 times bigger bronze to golds. I don't know, something like that.
Right. That would be interesting to me. I also have the opinion of like this number right here, first fight. I feel like this would be higher in lower ranks as well, just due to the lack of maturity with dealing with the first fight loss.
That's quite possible, because it's been noted in every other game that collects such data that the better the player gets, the bigger the so-called first move advantage gets. If you guess like moves, games like chess, for example, in the lower skills, like first 70% of players, it doesn't matter if you go white or black. It's because it doesn't matter. Sometimes even black wins a lot more, because it's kind of easier to get a preparation on the actually lowest ranks. Black wins more games. But on the professional level, for decades, for over a century, actually, it has been consistently 55 to 45% of wins for white, discounting draws. And for the games like Go, for example, you know Go?
No, I don't.
You're familiar? You don't? Oh, it's actually a cool game. The second most popular game of this type after chess. And it's actually has such a big first move advantage that since the beginning of the game, the player that would go second would get a few extra points, because in this game it goes for points, just for the compensation for starting second. And what's really crazy is that at the origin of the professional Go scene, like in 19th century, they were getting 4.5 point handicap, and it just kept increasing over the years as players as a whole got better and better at exploiting that first move advantage. And now it's 7.5 points advantage for the second handicap. So yes, I imagine that for grandmasters, like first teamfight conversion rate could easily be over 85% or something.
Okay, here's a thought. It's higher for higher ranks. On push and escort, where winning first fight is really important for map control. But on something like escort and hybrid, where winning first fight isn't as important because you're going to get your shot at it too, I would wonder if it would be lower for higher ranks because of the tilt factor is what I was talking about, right? So like if you lose first fight as a bronze player, are you more likely to get frustrated and therefore throw the entire map because you lost that first fight, whereas a grandmaster is more experienced with the losing and doesn't take it as seriously?
I see. So if you got like rolls, they 3-cap you, like the plat player will tilt and the grandmaster will flick up themselves and get to overtime.
Right. Especially in an escort and hybrid, where losing first fight isn't as big of a deal for snowballing the rest of the map, just for the defense. where you have also
Right.
have time to establish, build an old economy, and so on, and you still are able to maintain defender's advantage on, like, let's say, second point, even if you lost that
Yeah,
first
that's a
one.
massive question. Also, like how much the first team fight conversion rate, because that is essentially unmeasurable. How much of it is how maybe some maps are unrecontestable, like map control.
Yeah.
How much is it alt economy, and how much is it player psychology?
Yeah,
Like
I don't
which
know.
factor, in what extent, goes into that first team fight conversion rate?
I mean, it definitely matters for control, because old economy, you oftentimes don't even get an ultimate, right? But for other maps like escort and hybrid, surely it's more psychological, because you're able to maintain some
Yes.
form of defender's advantage for almost the entirety of the defense. And you will have, even if you get rolled, you should, at least by third point, have time to build an ult cycle. I don't know.
Yes.
It's just fascinating. I appreciate you taking the
Also,
time to
you
come
remember
on.
you remember that video you reacted to when people were moaning about the push game mode and how it's
Yes.
yes.
Yeah.
Look at the data. It's no worse, possibly even less oppressive to win a first team fight than control.
I mean, it's
It's
definitely
not a big
imbalanced,
difference.
but it's not like it wasn't as bad as it was being. Yeah, the reports of its death were greatly exaggerated. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, I would really like to discuss in the future, maybe for next season, actually the possibility of having the community spreadsheet again in a much simplified form with instructions, easy to download and fill.
Yeah.
So maybe from season 5 we could get broader data. And I was thinking about also other points that are maybe more subjective, but again, nobody does this kind of data collection, data gathering. But I was really thinking about toxicity, like how often do people actually encounter it? Because I get a feeling like it's lower than in Overwatch 1, but I'm not sure if it's just my bias or maybe just just because there are 2 less players in the game, so there is less opportunity to be toxic.
True. Could be.
Also, for now, I'm collecting a much smaller data actually regarding voice chats. And again, season has only just started, so it's not reliable yet. But two interesting observation I have. Like one, obviously, the more people are in voice chat, the higher the win rate is, right?
Yes.
Simple. But for people actually talking in the voice chat, it's almost in reverse.
Huh.
Like the more people get involved, like the lower the results are.
Yeah.
Maybe that's simply because of the clutter and because more people are kind of diminishing returns. Like when more people get calling positions, it's not as important because there are less positions not called out, flanks not called out by that first person.
How about this?
So they don't fix it. Yeah.
I flame you in the entire support line and call you guys trash. Are you going to stay
Oh
silent?
no,
or are you going to defend yourself?
I only put like useful calls.
Got
people who actually at least once gave something like "there's a soldier on the flank" or something like that. So it seems like the perfect scenario is when there are 5 people in a voice chat, but only one is like kind of the commander, maybe 2. Like one is giving the plans and the other is calling out flankers and something like that. But also, I imagine it could be influenced by something I also noticed, that if the game is going super smoothly, then nobody is talking because what's the point? You're already rolling them.
True.
And if the game gets like really, really difficult, then people start getting involved and talking and calling more, trying to save the game, but it's already, a bit handicapped.
Yeah, makes sense. That makes sense. Well, Dolas, I appreciate your time, mate. This was actually really fascinating. Thank you for following up on this. I was interested to see this, and obviously you put some time into it, and it's very, very interesting.
Also, one question that I saw in chat, somebody asked, what about draws? Actually, throughout all of the games of Season 3, I had not a single draw. Not a one in 274 games.
Wow. That's crazy. I think I don't think I've only had one draw myself, actually, that I can remember. But yeah, fascinating. All right, mate. Keep in touch. Let me know how the stuff goes. I appreciate your time.
Sure.
All right, see you.
Cheers.
All right, that was Dolas. Hope you guys found that one interesting. That was something that I'd talked with him about. It's something I've been coaching for a while, and I was curious to see. Last time I'd worked with him, I was like, yeah, I'd be actually kind of interested to see the spreadsheet if you're done with it. And so there you go. All right, who am I 1v1 or not 1v1? Roast the highlight. This costs roughly 10,000 channel points. All right, Shoot me the highlight. We'll take a look at it. Hey, Poke. How's it going, mate? Better be good. Huh. We'll see. I might be too soft. Doing good. All right. How's Lifeweaver and ranked? I'm curious how the hero feels now. I can't imagine it's too good, but I'm sure it's better than it was. Did I enjoy my free time? It was all right. Like I was saying earlier, it was a little busier than I'd have liked, but it wasn't honestly not too bad. It was all right. It was all right. You pick him, you lose so far? Huh. Well, we'll see if that continues to go. I don't know if you guys saw SVB's video on Lifeweaver. I highly recommend checking it out. It provides a different perspective that I don't 100% agree with in terms of his conclusions, but I actually talked with him about it because I think his perspective on the hero is how the hero is going to be played if it's being played well. I thought it was very interesting. It was basically all about like using Lifeweaver to control space by repositioning your DPS and tanks into better positions. Yo, where did Slugger go? I thought Slugger was gonna redeem a highlight. Cost 10,000 channel points. Your imaginary internet currency. New keys are way better, but why did players have to tell them to switch so they don't bother and play well? I don't know. I mean, it's stupid. Yeah, I mean, like I said, like I appreciate Blizzard doing it, but yeah, I mean, a lot of the stuff should have just come out in playtesting. You quite like the old controls? Fair enough. I sent in Overwatch highlights. Oh. Well, I don't see it. Well, just DM me. Because I don't see anything in Overwatch highlights. I'm not sure what your Discord name is in Overwatch highlights, though. Just message me directly. His take assumes the character will only be as positive. People aren't blowing cool. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's going to take somebody who actually knows what they're talking about. I mean, that's my problem as well, is I feel like understanding map control is like, you have to understand map control and angles to be able to play this hero properly. Damage fire was intended to be rarely used throughout most of his time. But see, the problem with that Ceiling Enjoyer is saying that, oh, he's not intended to use his damage very much. But then he has like pedal and grip on like these massive cooldowns, and his healing is slow and unimpactful. So my point is then like, what is your like neutral / downtime filled up with? Because I don't see anything. You did both? Mate, I don't know what I don't know what I'm seeing. I'm not seeing anything from you in DMs at all. I have not received any direct message from you. And I don't see anything in Overwatch highlights. Okay, there it is. It just got posted on highlights. All right. But like there's just nothing to do. Like once you're like, okay, there we go. We got it. It was delayed. But like once you use your grip, okay, like pedal, it's bad, you know? It's like there's so much massive downtime between what he's doing, and if he's not meant to use his mouse one, then what is he supposed to do in the meantime? Like I was watching Karq playing, and Karq looked like he wanted to just like you looked like he wanted to weep. He was so bored, just basically doing nothing. But yeah, you need something that you can do in the meantime. Like even his dash, for example, which is like one, like you don't really use that or want to use that until you need to. So like there are so many of his cooldowns. Life Rip to an extent, even honestly, even Life Rip and Pedal are things that you can use proactively, but you can also be punished them for using proactively. So like you're encouraging players to like not use their cooldowns and then just heal by it. But then you're not supposed, they said they didn't imagine people using, it's like literally 3 of your cooldowns you could literally just sit and not use at all until you get focused, which is so weird to me. I don't know. Like the hero needs something to do. All right, let's roast this highlight, yo. What on earth is that noise? Bum! It's like the start of like some 8-bit video game. I just turned on my Game Boy, guys. Oh, that was okay. So let's talk about this. So you managed to get a squishy. Are you nanoed? If you get minus cool points for being nanoed. It's a good right click though. I mean, it's a good highlight. You know, it was something. You let the Mercy get off the res, which is absolutely tragic, but I honestly don't think it was necessarily that bad. I mean, you should have stopped the res, I'm not gonna lie with you, but yeah. Big thing here is that, like, oh! You're probably wondering how I got here, right at 143 HP, so yeah, I'm sure that we survived this. Okay, highlight, I won't roast it, there's not a lot to roast here. It wasn't that good. Ignore the music. I mean, it's really hard not to. Also, real pros don't record the things with play of the game. You do it with like the replay code, or you shadow play it when it's happened, so you don't have this absolutely hideous overlay over the top. Letting Mercy Reds means more ult charge. True, that's exactly the plan here. It's a 1 fight, so we get more ult charge. Yeah, I would give it 3.5 out of 5. You don't think they were nanoed? But then what was the noise? Listen. Oh, maybe did we just use the bubble? I think we might have just used the bubble. That's the charging up sound. I definitely didn't die, I promise. Surely. Surely. I didn't know your budgie was named Diva. The grab wasn't thrown straight for stop points, so that's a minus. It's not only a minus, it actually probably means that you're not even worth rating at all. You get not only 0 points, you don't even get the option to earn points whatsoever. Not bad. Your record was busted? What are you even talking about? Your record was busted. What is your record? OCD Odyssey, thank you for the sub. What do I want to do here? I was gonna do something. What was I gonna do? I guess we could toy around with Lifeweaver. I should probably do some Ask Spilo first. So I'm gonna do the Blizzard balance discussion in a wee little bit here, but let's do some Ask Spilo because I'm still behind. Oh, we're recording. Oh. All right, let's do some Ask Spilo, y'all. I'm still catching up from like January 16th, 1937, but we're catching up. Thoughts on the new rally? How would you use it? Defensively, honestly, like you kind of have to kind of put yourself in a position to where they're going to try to be tempted to push you or push the person that you're playing with, and then you use it defensively. So it's like proactively positioning yourself in an aggressive position to where they want to punish you, and then you use your rally. You can't really use it to dynamically position and push, which really, really limits the way that rally can be used, which is just a great thing for a rework. But yeah, it's mostly used like reactively, but putting in position. Now, the other funny thing is that they haven't actually fixed the armor bug, so you're actually not as defensive as you should be because classic Blizzard, but you know, it is what it is. Hey, Timothy. Doing well, mate. How about you? Who do you think is the best Genji player? We talked about this. I think Sparkles probably has got a good shot for the best Genji player. Honestly, though, I'd have to think about it more. I'd have to see more footage because the problem is that a lot of the best Genji players have played at different times. So, like, Hacksaw was one of the GOATs back in the day, you know, so who knows. Surely bug will be fixed. No, they didn't fix it. They didn't fix it in today's patch. It's me 100%. Poke, true story. So I was collabing with somebody else whose collab will be live this week. It will be an explosive collaboration. And you were in the game that we were using for the collab. I was like, hey, and he's like, yeah, I love this person. I'm like, wait, I know that person. It's Poke. Yeah, so it's actually Boger. No, I already collabed with Boger. Super collab? No, that will happen after World Cup, surely, guys. It's the Brig person from Twitter. No. I was watching the latest Man to Man episode, found myself letting a lot of the issues at hand. However, I didn't catch the solution to the problem. Oh, I answered this one. You guys can check the thing in there. I think it had to do with like the burning yourself out because you're overly competitive about something that you love and then you don't love it anymore. How do you feel about this? Let's respond with a skull. How do you counter Junkrat and Symmetra as a DPS? Take angles, flank around, avoid getting up close in their face. Like, it depends on the hero. The hero like Widowmaker, you keep your distance, take wide angles. Hero like Pharah, you just shoot them from afar. Tracer, you just take the strict 1v1s, like hard flank, to avoid like the spam down main. Like if a Junkrat's spamming your Tracer on a flank, it's like such an inefficient use of his attention, and even to a lesser extent the same with Symmetra. So it like splitting up the spam hero's attention is like really helpful. No Boger Genji? No. Let's see if it was a good game or a bad game. I don't remember. We didn't watch a lot of it. We just kind of used it as like background filler. Can you explain how sound barrier works exactly? I just watched OG. So from what I know, there is like, how long is the window of time for the application for sound barrier? I don't know the exact time, but there's like, it's like there's a brief window of time, like 1 second, where as long as you're within LOS of them during that period of time, it's like a Reinhardt active hitbox with this hammer, then they're gonna get the beat. It is really, really weird, and it definitely lasts longer than you think it is, though. I've been watching a lot of the high tier Tracer gameplay. They engage fight with 1 or 2 blinks, fewer blinks available than I would in similar situations. Is this a matter of limit testing, blink dodging, or more trusting in support team? It could just be that the positions that you are able to take and ranked that allow you to engage with triple blinks are not available to those same players at a higher level. For example, if I'm Kevster and Rocket, I would like to engage every fight with 3 blinks, but at the pro level, top 500 level, I get marked too hard, and so I have to end up taking more conservative angles that mean that I expend an extra blink on nearly every engage. So at the higher level, they're just better at preventing me from doing what I want to do. Going in at 3 blinks is always best. It's always better. But the problem is that at a higher level, they might not let you do which means that you have to be more flexible with how you engage. That would be my prediction. Aim trainers good or no? Not really. No, unless you're brand new to first-person shooters and PC. No, I don't know if this is the right place to ask questions, but in the recent video, Spilo talks about burnout, how it's important to focus on having a desire for mastery, have an ego that will be great. Is there like some phenomenals are likely enigmas? Burnout might be different from the average player. I'm not sure. I'm sure that's what the question. I'm not sure I understand the question. Yeah, I mean, what Garfield's saying here is correct. Yeah. Yeah, they definitely, like, if you've ever watched the way people scrimmage, like these pros scrimmage or talk in a tournament versus how they play in ranked, it's night and day, right? That's why they're able to play for such a long period of time, right? There's a gap between ranked and scrims. And for most of us, ranked has to be scrims. We have to treat ranked like it's the same intensity as scrims, but yeah. How much impact do you think choice of crosshair actually has? Marginal impact. As long as it, like, basically, crosshair is just avoiding worst case scenario and finding something that is comfortable for you. That's all it really is. It's like choice of gaming chair or mouse pad. Does your mouse pad suck? Does your chair suck? Okay, it doesn't. You like it? Okay, then that's all that matters. Like there's like almost like, yeah, that's basically all you need to worry about. How do I deal with people in scrims not following comms as a tank split comms every time? And a comm is just an ego thing. I just want my team to follow my calls for rotation target fights, but the Babs made a call to well, okay, the key thing is, as a team player, you don't have to always be right. You just need to make sure that as often as you possibly can, that you're contributing towards being on the same page as your team. So if that means being as much of a better listener, if that means talking with your teammates after scrims, being like, guys, we have to listen to each other, and making that a priority when it comes to your communication outside of the game. But this is not something that you need to be talking to me about. This is something that you need to be talking with your team about. And teams want me to have a 6-hero pool. They never split heroes or tanks. It's something. Yeah, I mean, I'm curious what rank you're scrimmaging at, but you just need to talk with your team. Do I review scrim callouts? Yes. But honestly, it could be that you are not as good of a listener as you think you are. And also, if you're a very quiet person, not quiet, just soft, then maybe you need to be a little bit more vocal when you need something to be called. Doesn't need to be all the time, just when it's important. If the enemy team is something like Soldier Cast, Ash, Bap, oh no, just a ton of hit scan. I feel like there's so much accurate range pressure. I can't think of what DPS pick against that. I mean, Pharah could absolutely destroy this if you have good high ground off angle cover. Like the irony with hit scan, especially if they lean really, really hard into hit scan, is they give you like everything is a dive target if you can have the cover to approach it. Pharah, I've been trying to get the rust off of Torb, Hanzo, and Echo, but also the same thing applies with Echo versus these comms. Like you can dive and kill really all of these targets, but then if you can't dive and kill those targets, Hanzo should absolutely ruin these guys because you control their sightlines literally just straight up better than they do. Yeah, could you try to just blow the tank? I mean, you can, yeah. The only hero that looks in your pool that looks bad versus that is maybe Torb, because Torb just gets outranged by all of them and his turret's just going to get permanently broken. But Pharah and Echo, if you can dive them, are fine versus full hit scan comps, and Hanzo, if you can't dive them, is a good choice as well. What range you play in Zen and just looking at the tanks? Depends on the comp. Generally longer range, unless they have like Widow Hanzo, and then you try to avoid their sightlings. But for the most part, usually more of a range support. Right. How do I play Ryan with Mercy Lucio against Ryan with Ana Zen? Honestly. So the advantages of Mercy Lucio is really the fragility of the backline. It's obviously a flawed question because this is pretty much the worst setup for you. But what I would try to do, Sage, thank you so much for the sub. You can't win the Rhine trade. You need to try and find angles or way to approach and pressure the Ana Zen, because the Ana Zen are significantly more fragile than Mercy Lucio. So if you could get pressure on the Ana Zen either directly or indirectly, then that's going to help you win the Rhine trade. But the way you play Rhine against Rhine is not to play against the Rhine or the Ana Zen. You need to avoid the Reinhardt as much as you possibly can. Play like a crackhead? Yeah, kind of. Yeah, avoid the Rhine, because you're not going to win the Rhine trade. But Ana Zen are a lot more fragile than Mercy Lucio. What are your thoughts on a... I forgot to check mark this one. We'll do a handful more. What are your thoughts on the triage healing ability for Mercy at cooldown that buffs healing temporarily? I think it has value. I guess, okay, so here's the problem with Mercy is we can think of a lot of things that would make Mercy better at her triage healer identity, but the problem is it's hard to think of a way to do that without encouraging her to be better at pocketing a DPS, which I think is a playstyle that a lot of people really dislike, even the Mercy mains. The thing that Mercy does is she's your buddy. She's your buddy. She is best at pocketing a solo DPS, not playing for herself whatsoever, but basically pocketing a solo DPS or a tank, usually a DPS, on an aggressive off angle with damage boost and healing. And the triage healing can be used to keep critical people alive, but it can also be used to just keep a DPS alive under ungodly focus fire. And the problem with that is that makes it very frustrating to play versus, because it's the same reason why Pharmacy is frustrating to play versus, is even though it's balanced because it's two people, right? It doesn't feel like the Mercy herself has a lot of agency in what she can and can't do outside of like these micro little contributions. And it's also not exactly fun being like, oh, well, that person is just completely unkillable. It's not dynamic enough. You guys kind of see what I'm saying? It's not that Mercy, the pocket thing is like necessarily fundamentally broken so much as that it's so much of her identity that she doesn't do anything else better. She's not very good at healing tanks. She's not very good at healing flankers. She has no playmaking capability of her own outside of Valkyrie. She's just makes one squishy unkillable a lot of the time, and she's way too good at that and way too bad at everything else. And it's the same problem that we have with something like Bastion, where the Overwatch 2 rework was a step in the right direction, but he's still a character that really only does one thing and does that one thing way too well. Is Bastion OP? No, but he's still not very well designed. And I think the same thing goes with Mercy, where she is a pocket healer, and that's all she does. That's it. And that's not very engaging or interesting to play into, and it's not very interesting or engaging to play with. Mercy is a lot more fun to play when you actually have to move around the battlefield a lot, but unfortunately, that's not necessarily even always the best way to play her. Or at least she's not the best at doing that. In other words, when you're looking for like what is the optimal situation to pick Mercy, it is not when you're moving around a lot. It's not. It's actually when there's one safe target with an escape route also available and you sit with them. So, the idea is there, but the problem is that once again, it would be abused for a pocket situation. And I'm not sure exactly what the solution is to that, but Mercy is a fundamentally flawed design as a result. $1.57G. I mean, definitely having GA on a lower cooldown is probably, I mean, you need Mercy at being able to move around is important. I don't know what the solution is. I would have to put a lot more thought into it than I really feel like with Mercy, to be honest. And honestly, it's not like Mercy's just been beaten over the head so many times, and honestly, I feel like the Mercy community, the one failing of the Mercy community is lack of coming up with an identity of what they want to replace Mercy with. They complain a lot when things like the crappy GA change have been made, which is one of the interesting things of the Mercy, but we still don't know what Mercy's identity should be. My whole problem with Lifeweaver was we didn't know what Lifeweaver's identity was, right? We're still not sure what Lifeweaver's identity is. The Mercy community has done a really bad job of coming up with an actual identity of what the hero is supposed to be good at, besides a pocket support. And we still don't know what that's supposed to be. At least I have never, and this is even when you guys remember my talk with SKSD, it was like complaining about res. Okay, well then what are the suggestions? And you know, we had a really hard time like coming up with anything really concrete. And I think if you want your hero to get reworks, either the community or the developers need to find out what is the purpose of Mercy. What is she supposed to do? Is Ryan going to be replaced by Ramatra and Hyelo? Maybe. I mean, it just comes down to the player thing. It depends really on the community. Like EU is going to still play Ryan, and he's still going to play Ryan. Maybe. I think the Ryan nerf definitely does make him slightly less attractive in the Brawl Mirror, but the whole Ram versus Ryan thing has always been more of a player strength thing than even up to Overwatch League anyway. So survey out hero pulls for months. I'm watching. I was left with the I play for a team that likes to play a lot of comments. My hero pulls pretty diverse. I feel like Genji, Reaper, Junker, Cassie, Hanzo. I'm interested. I'm a time practicing because Reaper and Junker don't really require mechanics. Routine heroes. What about a team environment? I mean, you have to flex around your team environment, but you do want to try and specialize. Like if you're playing mostly X, Y, and Z in a team environment, lean into those in ranked as well, so that when you're in the team environment, you're able to perform better. I understand the flexibility required sometimes in a team environment. I would try to talk with the team and get them to help specialize, because you will play better in a team environment if you're not playing 75 different heroes. But if it changes, and it's fine. Just try and have your ranked mirror your team environment, so that you're performing better in that team environment. I don't know how good Dante's. I've heard Dante's Ram was pretty good. I saw Glads play Brig into Sig versus Sig comps. What does the Brig get value into the long sightlines? Understand? It's mostly just to control, like enable your DPS to deal with Tracer better. And there are some spam, like you could still take corners. Like a lot of teams played like Brig Zen and spam on Circuit Royale if they didn't have a comfortable BAP Zen player, like double flex support. Like I think Dallas did that a lot. I know we as London did that back in the day. And you just basically play spam, but with very tight sight lines. And you're like, well, how do you do that? Well, what the Brig does is it controls Tracer a little bit and allows you to win the Sig trade in melee versus melee. Because Sig trades do happen pretty close range, which gives your Brig the opportunity to kind of contribute a little bit to the tank trade, more so than other supports. Not that Brig is the frontliner, but more so than another flex support would be. And it does help you to deal with the Tracer, and Armor Pack still helps your DPS a good deal, and Rally is still a really strong ult. So it's just basically short sight lines into spam mirror. And then if they don't play a spam mirror, you at least have a hero that can deal versus dive. A Mercy-like hero, right? But what's a Mercy-like hero? Right? Exactly, assimilator. Like what is a Mercy-like hero? You could say a non-mechanically demanding hero that provides utility. Okay, so what utility does Mercy provide? Some of the most controversial utility in the game: pocket, damage boost, and res. All things that are very controversial and not well liked. Yeah, and I get that, but that's not an identity, Nodland. You see what I'm saying? This is, I'm trying not to get into the Blizzard balance discussion right now. I'm like biting my tongue. We'll get there in about 15 minutes, but this is why I have a problem with Blizzard balancing. They don't have a vision of what they want to do with it. At least not consistently. It's frustrating. Mercy identity is pocketing. Right. What on earth am I supposed to do is dynamite as Ashe? Try targeting Squishy with them, but people get mad at the tank not burning and so on. Target Squishies. Screw your team. Teams are idiots. Any thoughts on good and bad supports pairing for Lifeweaver so far? I do think that he does better with support that's a little bit more self-sufficient, and that can assist him. I like the Brig pairing pretty well, who's fairly self-sufficient. I would be more curious to see the compositions that he's played with first before I say what support, because I have a feeling that who he's paired with matters less as a support and more to do with the DPS and tank. So you guys heard me talk a little bit about SVB's video about pulling your DPS and tanks into better positions. So if we find out that Lifeweaver works really well with Ryan versus spam comps because you could take a high ground and pull him with you, then you might see Ryan paired with like a Lifeweaver paired with Lucio, even though that's not a lot of healing because it's a reposition. the short answer is I don't know, but generally support pairings have had more to do with the rest of the composition and less to do with their synergy with each other. I will say that initially I did like feeling like I didn't have to. I did like having something of a self-sufficient support, although I can definitely see the value of playing with like a Zen and being able to peel the Zen, but I don't know. I felt weird having, especially when I was playing into Lifeweavers, it felt like Freelo playing into a Lifeweaver plus a Zen. Like it felt like there's too much fragility. I'm not sure. We've only seen a quick play, right. That's the problem too. How do I work on mentality in Overwatch? When I improve and get high enough, I also feel like my plot when picking last year because of player 5 and where. Don't worry about it. Don't work and focus only on what you need to do to improve day on day out. You're beating yourself up, I assume, for not being a high enough rank where you feel like you should, but don't worry about it. Like every day is going to be a disappointment if you're a plat 1 peak player aiming for top 500. Don't aim for top 500. You're aim for diamond 5. You know what I'm saying? And then maybe not every single day feels like a failure because you actually feel like you're making progress towards that goal. That's the problem with setting goals that are only setting goals that are like the best, because because like every day is a failure until you're the Michael Jordan of Overwatch. And ironically, that's not the way you're going to be able to get to be a Michael Jordan in Overwatch. A Lifeweaver apparently has lowest stats per 10 on the support roster. I mean, I agree. Like when I was playing Lifeweaver, I had to play so safe that there was no chance that I was dying. And his self-defense is fairly good if you play him really safe. Like you always have your dash, you're always playing cover, you're always playing distance, and you have your pedal as well. He's not the most unsurvivable here in the game, but the problem is that doesn't necessarily mean that his survivability is good. It just means that players have adjusted to playing him in such a very passive way that it's compensating for that. So you have to play safe with him, right? And the problem is that with his kit, with his damage spread, at least previously, the only thing that you could really do at range was life rip. You got really minimal pedal value. So yeah, I don't know. Right, you can't take any aggressive plays. You can't do anything aggressive with him, which is strange to me. Because even Zenyatta is a very proactive support. Spilo fan? I can't answer that question, Adeline. I'm sorry. How can Genji be played whenever you're playing with against a suboptimal comp? I think it depends on the circumstance. The circumstance that you're saying here would be basically versus this composition. You just take angles and spam, because they, outside of Mei right click, they wouldn't really have good poke damage. So you could take really any greedy aggressive position and just mouse one. And it would basically just be to like look for opportunities to kill a Reaper or Mei post cooldown, post fade. But remember that they have like very little range and very little mobility, like angle control. So you could take really any position you want and just spam. I don't know if Poke is still in chat or if Poke would agree, but if I see like Moira Lucy or Ryan Reaper Mei, I can't really dive and assassinate those targets very easily until we start using ultimates, but I can take any angle and just spam. And they can't ever run me down. Like you could be like, well, why wouldn't you spam with a better DPS here? Yes, but they could chase down and catch a DPS here like an Ashe or so on. But a Genji could take any angle and just completely laugh at them. And then if you were able to build up a blade and combo that with something else, you would be able to, like, if you're able to combo blade with, like, I don't know, a Cole of your own or a Valkyrie, it would be pretty easy to burn through those cooldowns without, as long as you don't commit your dash. He who imagines himself as a champion should get scared of the rivals, the weight, the challenge. It's better to imagine someone like tomorrow. I'll be left to wait. Yeah, I agree, Dolas. Is there any place for Briggs Zen anymore? Yeah, I do think Briggs Zen is the same place as it ever was. You know, it's the anti-dive or anti-hybrid dive spam comp, right? It's good. It's still it's not the best. It might not be something that you're able to pull off consistently in ranked, but if I'm playing Zen into Tracer or Ball or even a Winston, I still want a Brig. I think Brig is in some ways with the armor pack reduction, but even the rally change is still useful for me, right? How do I carry? I play ranked games for 6 to 7 hours an average a day. I'm GM1 Tangle on my laser games where I get players when to pick up the slack. How can I carry laser? I'm supposed to carry with Carmen. See, this is the hard thing. So this is actually one of the reasons why I stopped enjoying playing quick play with friends back in the day. Because when the gap, like I would have like a mid-masters MMR on support, and it was like high diamond, low masters on tank and DPS. And it got really boring, feeling like I was like playing with like silvers, golds, and plats, and feeling like I had to deadlift every game. And it was fine when it worked, but a lot of times it was just kind of frustrating because I felt like it was not even competitive. It was like, oh, I killed 6. I guess I should have killed 12, you know? So for you, if you feel like you go in these lower SR lobbies, focus less on like what I need to be doing to carry more, and focus just on trying to clean up any mistakes that you can make. So like treat it as like you were carrying by just improving your gameplay as a whole. So don't be like, well, I should have gone for the more aggressive play. Well, maybe. Did you have any avoidable deaths? Was your cooldown usage perfect? Was your ultimate usage perfect? So instead of trying to like look at it as like, what could I have done to carry more? Because that might put you in the wrong mindset. Hey, cat. Instead, focus on what mistakes could I have improved at? Because I get you. Being the highest ranked player is not fun. It's not actually fun. It gets boring. But there, if you look at it like objectively, like, oh, you know, there were some deaths that I could have cut out. At least it keeps you engaged. Does the main off support distinction show this? I would say just you need a Lucio specialist if you're in a competitive team environment, and then besides that, it doesn't really matter. You need a Lucio specialist and somebody who has experience on like Zenana. Does Moira have a place in team comp when she has such limited utility? I think Moira has an advantage over Kiriko for she's like, I'm trying to think. I mean, she's like a budget Kiriko, so like running it when you have like pretty self-sufficient tanks or like dive tanks that you could like take angles and cook on the backline is pretty good. I would never play Moira in a rush comp. If you're like anything to do with Reinhardt, never. I would only play Moira when we're playing like aggressive, self-sufficient DPS and tanks where I can play selfishly as well and look to kind of like duel people. Like Moira's strength is dueling. Is she better than Kiriko? Not necessarily, but it's a lot easier than Kiriko to do the same things that Kiriko does, whether it's with Fade, Damage Orb, and so on. But yeah. I will say that it would be better, she's better in the Kiriko when the map, like she's less weak than a Kiriko when the maps are more congested. Like if you're running like Tracer, Ball, or like Winston, Sombra, something like that on like, let's say King's Row for whatever reason, the space of the map means that something like a Kiriko is like less important because it's more congested. So something like Moira can do the job almost as well. The irony here is that everyone complains about DPS Moiras, but DPS Moira has never been more important than right now. It is the best playstyle, and there is no reason to play Moira outside of DPS. Because the burst heal is really, really good, but is completely reliant off of heal orb cooldown and full resource. It's just not... Moira's healing per second over an extended fight is just too inconsistent. What are considered the fundamentals of Overwatch 2? So you need to work on a climb carry. I mean, the fundamentals for me are like map control or space, timing. I know I'm forgetting one, chat. Range. Those are the big ones for me. Does anyone, I feel like I'm forgetting one. I hate the concept of DPS Moira. I mean, I do too, but it's what the hero has to do to climb. Like, there's just not enough utility elsewhere. Pressure? Oh, yeah, pressure, yeah. And I have a lot of videos in this stuff. I have a playlist on like Overwatch, like macro fundamentals or whatever, and you can kind of skim through those and see any that stand out to you that you may have not talked about. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's knowing how to DPS Moira is the key thing. I try to do that whole like Overwatch 2 in-depth support guide, which I hope was helpful. But what do you think the best idea if you want to be able to support, play more tank DPS in the rows? I think it's okay if you're new to the game. Like I'm not the guy that says, oh, you queued into Overwatch? That's cute. Have you one-tricked a hero to 100 hours yet? I think, really, I mean, I don't even know what the ballpark number would be. Like, at least, I think the first 300, 400 hours, I mean, maybe not that much, but maybe even more. I don't know. First, at least few hundred hours should be playing a little bit of everything. Knowing the cooldowns, knowing what feels good. But I think like as you get higher in the ranks, like if you're 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 hours in, certainly, you know, it's time to, you're not going to learn more by playing other heroes, I think. I think the idea is that you want to be an early generalist, late specialist. And I also think that once you specialize, there's nothing wrong with occasionally going back and just flexing around a little bit. Like a hero gets a rework, a new hero comes out. I think it's good to kind of get a feel of the hero before you go back and specialize again. I think that's all I have time for. I guess we could do a few more because we got like 5-ish more minutes. What to do is a tracer against brawl comps when they're stacked. You don't need to get a pick. Like all your job is once they're stacked, your opportunity to get picked is really low because of their self-peel. But the fact that they are stacked means that they've given up a lot of map control. So you already have a passive advantage just by the fact that you force them to stack. And the second thing is that you just get value by through distraction and harassment. So once you've stacked them, you've done half of your job. Now your job is to pressure from that off angle that you've now secured at the same time as your team and just be a distraction. Like stacking is always a disadvantage, regardless of the composition. So if you force them to stack, it will make it harder for you to secure kills by yourself, but you don't need to secure solo picks anymore. Yeah, I can really fast, Cat. Why do I see Millicent throwing his pedal fault at the enemies? Yes, to disrupt them and allow his teams to line up more shots. So if you don't need pedal platform to avoid pressure or peel, or if you don't need pedal platform to allow your hit scan to get a better off angle, which is also hit or miss because sometimes your hit scans are going to cuss you out for putting them up in the middle of nowhere, you can throw your pedal platform out as like, oh, they stepped on it, they're now like in Narnia floating out middle of the open, and it's actually really, really, really bad. It's like a boop. It's like a budget boop because you lift the tank and then they're out of cover and then they try to fall off and then they're falling and they're easier to hit shots on. So you just throw it at them to disrupt or displace them, so it's easier to put out more pressure on them. Yo, hey, miss you too, Jonna. It also is something that you can do. It's kind of like symmetric TP, where it can kind of be like a bait where you throw a pedal at the enemy team, and it's kind of like, hey, whoops, what was? It's the ADHD brain, you know what I'm saying? It kind of it distracts them for a split second, and it's such a fast deployable that if you really don't need it for yourself or for your teammates, you might as well just throw it out just to be a general nuisance. Is anyone specifically I'm trying to disrupt with it, or anyone? I would definitely aim for like targets that are like more likely to walk over it. So like, I'm trying to think like what would be a good example. Like if you see the Zenyatta in a particular position where you don't like him being there, throw him on the particular target. It will force him to avoid it and move him out of the way. So like you could throw it at like, literally you could throw it at like a sniper or an immobile hero that's holding a particular position to make them move away from that position that you don't want them to be. You kind of see what I'm saying? Either they get lifted in the position where they don't want to be lifted, or they move away. So like I would probably prioritize like more stationary targets that are in power positions. It's a good question. Yeah, no problem. When should you engage in tracer duels in a dive matchup? Do you always want to go for a backline in a dive matchup usually? But you sometimes can't because a tracer is marking that angle. So then your first priority is during a dive is to clear the tracer and win the tracer duel. And if you win the tracer duel, then you can go for the backline afterwards. Or just the fact of winning the tracer duel might mean that tracer is not exposed and dives first. So if you can avoid the tracer, usually it's okay, it's something that you want to pursue. But if she's marking you, when your tank goes in, fight their tracer, win the duel. Your tank doesn't get a kill in the backline, but you win the tracer duel, and that means next dive you're in a position, you have the flank, you have the lane to be able to go for backline. It's a really, really complicated question, but that's my quick TLDR. How does one become more consistent as DPS and main tracer? And it feels like one game becomes to another game trying to bronze. Consistency with play, consistency with mentality. Don't beat yourself up if you feel like you're playing poorly. It's perfectly normal. Nobody's consistent with play. Don't sweat it too much. Everybody struggles with inconsistency. So control factors about your consistency, like your mentality, playtime, sleep, diet, exercise, and so on. And then also recognize that there is a decent chunk, like 60% of your inconsistency, that's completely uncontrollable, and then just let it go. And the reason I say that is because understanding that you're inconsistent will help you be more consistent, because you won't get so upset when you're inconsistent, which will then make you less inconsistent. Where's the star bot? That's a good question. That would actually be something that I should probably do at some point in the Discord, because it is fun. When should you peel as Doom? Almost never. Almost never. When their backline is completely inaccessible and or out of the fight, and the tank that is or DPS that is on your backline is something that you can actually contribute. Like if a Winston jumps to my backline and their backline is literally like completely an Narnia and not doing anything, yeah, you can peel. Might as well. Do you have any comments on concerns about the way competitive ranking is going to handle it the season 4 update? I just think it's just much more aggressively repositioning people. So there's a chance that it might have made more mistakes than it would in the past because it doesn't give itself as much time to really find out where you are. But it also means it punishes like tilt queues and smurfing a lot harder. So, you know, it's a blessing and a curse. I'm not sure exactly how I feel about Rennie. Thank you so much for the sub, mate. Why am I such a bad working Latro? Oh my gosh, this guy. I'm the GOAT. Determined to become a competent control player. Are you comfortable with coaching for controllers? Should I look elsewhere? So yeah, I'm comfortable for control. Well, okay. I'm not comfortable coaching how to use your controller better. No, but I am comfortable with coaching controller players. Yes. Coach a lot of console players, but I don't know. I couldn't tell you how to use a console better. We got a few more questions, and then we're gonna get into the Blizzard balance discussion. What comps does Sojourn really work? Really dive mostly. I do see her occasionally with Brawl, but I don't think she's a good Brawl pick anymore. I think like the reason that she was played in Brawl is because she was okay, and just because she was a really strong hero, not because she's particularly synergized well with Brawl. The problem with Brawl is that the lack of slow and E really hurt her utility. The inability to charge up your rail on Rhine Shield was a huge problem as well, and the ability to have a mobility cooldown with the shift wasn't as necessary versus Brawl comps because they had less mobility to punish you for taking those angles. For crying out loud, people play Cassidy, like the least mobile DPS in the game, and so we don't need a hyper mobile shift. So there's anyway. As far as I know, no numbers have changed. The Surgeon's right click and Mercy's damages since Surgeon Mercy's hard meta season 2. Yeah, people stop talking about Surgeon. I think she's balanced now. This always happens. It's just creep. It's creep. What happens is Sojourn was probably not the strongest immediately after the change, but just over time, people got other heroes like Cassidy got mega buffed, and so then people stopped playing Sojourn, play Cassidy, and then started playing heroes to counter Cassidy, and then tried other stuff. And then over that period of time, people kind of started to realize that, oh, you know, maybe Sojourn's not that strong. I mean, it always happens. It's here's the sentence for you. Metas are sticky. Metas are sticky. When people play a composition or a hero, they're really, really good at it. And it takes not a disproportionate amount of effort to learn other things, because not only is that hero strong in your opinion, but you're also really good at that hero, so that leads to an internal bias, right? Oh, thank you for the gifted sub. Oh my gosh, there's a lot of gifted subs. Shyrox, Renegade, Mins, Deprece, it's Brittany. Thank you so much for the gifted subs, HPU. Thank you so much, mate. I really appreciate that. So basically what happens is, like, it could be that Sojourn was not that strong post nerf, but people were really good at Sojourn, and people just were stuck with Sojourn, so nobody wanted to try anything else. So metas are sticky. This happens in Overwatch League all the time. All the time. People like, stuff gets nerfed and nerfed and nerfed and nerfed and nerfed, but people are scared to try it until it's trashed here, and people try something else and go, oh my gosh, you know, that's what happens. Is Sojourn still strong right now? I mean, I'm not sure. I don't think she's that strong, no. But it happens. That's why Goat stuck around for so long. Yes and no. I think Goats was like abused certain fundamental aspects about Overwatch that didn't really change, not just hero synergies and strengths, but yes. Last one. How did you improve your presentation speaking skills? Did you rewatch your videos and compare them against other content creators? I've just had a lot of experience talking and coaching and teaching. That's something I've been doing like basically my entire life. Okay. It's just something I've had a lot of practice with, and something that I continually try to improve. I do watch back and listen to my own VOD reviews because I do my own editing, so I have to hear my stupid voice many hours after I've already done it. But just a lot of practice. You should review Rhodes versus Panthera as a gift. Maybe. Okay, I'm gonna stop there because it is juice time. How dark is it? Is it dark? It's all right. We're good. Guys, let's talk about Blizzard balancing. VOD reviewing. I mean, that is unironically one of the most important things I would say to improve for sure. It's a little dull though. I will be honest with you guys. So overbuff.com. I wanted to talk a little bit about this. So let's talk about. I'm gonna leech off of the GOAT of informational content. Graham, what's wrong? My cat is being sad. Now I'm gonna need y'all's help with overbuff because I haven't used overbuff in ages. But I want to talk a little bit about CarQ's recent video. Hey, buddy. Because it had some interesting thoughts. Let's take a look.
Smaller than what we call a rework for Maze Primary Fire. That's almost done now. You're not going to freeze another hero entirely, but you build up to a bigger moment of that.
This video is going to be a summary of everything we have so far, such as pick rate, win rate, and what led to the decision of those drastic changes in his kit only 10 days in. And for your reference, the Lifeweaver changes.
You know, actually, this is what I want to look. I want to look at this. So I'm going to start this off with a discussion on Genji, which I think is interesting. Here we go.
Food for thought. I'll give you any comments.
Let's actually change the speed to something a little bit more
On
processable.
social platforms, on Overwatch content. Out of curiosity,
Time to time.
I only ask this because one of the most commonly upvoted comments is, "Well, that's another reason to nerf Genji." On the topic of Genji, does the team feel that Genji is underpowered right now and may need a small buff, especially after removing that movement speed DPS passive from Season 1? Alec answered by saying that no, he doesn't think Genji needs a buff. Genji is still above a 50% win rate, and his pick rate is healthy as he's a very popular hero. He did note that in peak Season 1 release, he was way up there, way too high as the top DPS choice before Sojourn caught on, but after the nerfs they gave him, he's actually in a much better spot. Does that mean they'll never buff him? Of course not. Despite the good win rate, Alec emphasized that he still wants heroes to feel impactful and successful, since player perception of the hero is something that they really take into consideration.
If you're not shaking your head after hearing this, you're not paying attention. Because what has just been said by CarQ, translating what has been said, is a major issue. Major issue. Now let's talk about the problems of this point by point, okay? First point, around 50% win rate. Now, I'm going to pull up Overbuff, and I want to delve into this a little bit deeper with you guys right now. Here's the problem with win rate as a parameter. Win rate lacks nuance. You see, ultimately, here's what we have to kind of consider with win rate. Win rate factors in two things to my knowledge. One is how strong actually more than two things. How easy, so in other words, how easy is it to leverage the hero's value? Okay, so how powerful skill floor or skill ceiling and value ceiling, okay? And then the other one here is, now chat, correct me if I'm wrong, but is win rate not affected by pick rate? In other words, if a hero is extremely popular and that we end up having mirror matchups, that does negatively impact pick rate or win rate. So if you have a hero with a really high pick rate, the win rate's going to be slightly lower because a lot of people picking Genji are losing games because they're playing into a Genji. I think that they don't use mirror matchups, but I'm not sure. Okay. Devs use unmirrored win rate, so that's good. Okay. The problem here is saying that even if we disregard this, Genji is fine, doesn't need buffs because his pick rate is fine and his win rate is fine. Okay. The problem with that is we don't know what win rate is fine. What win rate is fine? Is a win rate in bronze fine? Is a win rate in GM fine? Top 500 fine? You see, the problem with that is it lacks the nuance and execution. You see, if we give an example of, let's say the best balanced hero in the game, and this is going to be a bit of a hot take, but I'm just going to use this as an example. Maybe not the best, but is Tracer, okay? Because the problem with Tracer, or the good thing about Tracer is it is a hero that rewards skill. And rewards skill in all facets of her abilities in Ult Expression. And always, ultimate, cooldowns, mechanics is easy to counter and hard to counter at the same time. In other words, if somebody makes a swap to a pick, you're not completely gimped, you can still find ways to get value, right? Now, here's the problem with Genji. Genji, objectively, is a hero that rewards skill, but does not reward skill as much as Tracer. So in other words, when you have a hero like Genji that's very, very difficult to master, almost to the level of Tracer, but doesn't reward you as much as Tracer, that means there's something wrong with the hero. So saying that he has a 50% win rate and therefore he's fine is a really simplistic and silly way of looking at it, because it's not considering that how the win rates may change at different ranks, and also it's not considering whether the hero is rewarding it for the investment of time being put into him. And here's the other problem, chat. How many of you guys think, here's a question, how much of Genji's win rate is carried by Nanoblade? It's a rhetorical question, right? We all know the answer to that. Or just damage boosted blades in general. A lot. A significant amount. Now here's the other question. Versus Nanoblade, what's the counterplay? What's the counterplay for Nanoblade? I mean, it's almost uncounterable. Trance, beat, sleep dart. It's by the way, I have played in pro contenders and owl metas with Nanoblade being meta, and at the pro level, Nanoblade is almost just go next. At the pro meta. And here's the other question, and I'm going to tick some people off with this. I'm a Genji main, keep this in mind. At least I was. How hard is Nanoblade to use? I didn't say blade, I said Nanoblade. It's not hard. Now, it can be done very well, and sometimes it is necessary to be done very well, but it's not that hard. It's not that hard. You can even focus tank with Nanoblade, and you just do so much damage, you just go right through. That's the problem with Genji. The problem with Genji is that the win rate is fine, but that he still doesn't reward the skill that he takes in. Skill does not equal value with Genji. And the only way that that is even expressed, it can be balanced, is by finding a way to shift the strength away from not even normal blade, but Nanoblade into the neutral. You could even buff normal blade to 120 damage. You probably should buff normal blade to 120 damage per swing. But damage boosted blade is the problem, and the neutral game is too weak. So this is the problem with Blizzard balancing. I don't know if it's because they don't play the game enough. I don't know if it's they do factor these things, but they don't communicate them at all. But the problem is that even if I give them that slack, if we look at their track record, they have a track record of buffing and nerfing the wrong things. So I can't even with good conscience say that that's the problem. You say 50% win rate, but that completely removes the nuance about what feels good for the Genji, what feels good to play against Genji, and why the win rate is carried by things that limit skill expression. You see, the problem with Nanoblade being what carries the character is it's uncounterable a lot of the times. And if you don't have the circumstances for Nanoblade, as a Genji player, my options are completely screwed. It's not like Tracer, I'm carried by fill in the blank. Tracer, even if she doesn't have Pulse Bomb, still has many options to express skill, a ceiling. Genji, you hit that ceiling, and there's nothing you can do. And my problem with this is, although this is a simplistic way of looking at it, this has been reflected in their balancing. Genji damage boosting blade is not a new point. It's not something that's new. Genji having a weak neutral but too strong of a nanoblade combo, this isn't new. This has been talked about since at least 2018 or 2017, if not even sooner. So you could say, oh, well, this isn't fair. Okay, then why is it still a problem? And this is one hero. We're going to go on a wonderful ride talking about a lot more heroes that have this exact same issue. And it's one of the fundamental things wrong with Blizzard's balancing here. Okay? Let's keep going with this one, though. Still very popular. What? Why is this even a metric? I get that popularity matters to an extent, because if a hero is literally terrible, nobody ever plays him ever, it means that, okay, we need to sell more. I mean, we need to make it more balanced so that it becomes a higher pick rate, right? I guess I know the popularity matters, but that's not a real argument, right? It's more of when when we hit the floor, something should be kind of concerned. Okay. Now let's keep talking about this, okay? So, win rate here. Let's listen to Mercy.
Next question was with Mercy's Guardian Angel change in Season 4. I mentioned that it feels as if Mercy is being punished for performing movement text because of the longer cooldown. I asked Alec how he feels about the GA changes thus far. Is he happy about it? Are they looking to revert it or change it? For Guardian Angel, their stance is that they want to keep the ability simple, but don't want to take away skill expressions such as the slingshots and super jumps. Alec acknowledged that the Season 4 patch note for her was a little hard to understand for both sides, right? And having different GA cooldowns depending on if you added movement tech or not isn't perfect.
They want to keep it simple, but they punished. So which is it? Which is it? Yes or no?
And they're still evaluating it. They do want Mercy to be in a place where they don't have to change it over and over again, as it does hurt with muscle memory and is obviously very frustrating.
Hello? You know? This is what I don't understand. Like you have, and the problem here is Mercy's another one of them where you will have them whipping out win rates in the past to discuss Mercy power value. But the problem is people don't have a problem with Mercy win rates. If Mercy was a high pick rate, high win rate hero, but had high skill expression and high counterplay for both sides, then people wouldn't be complaining. I know people don't like Tracer, but the proportion of people that don't like Tracer versus people that don't like Mercy is insane, because one hero has value that takes a measurable amount of game sense mechanics and general skill, and the other one does not. Now, Mercy has a skill ceiling, but it's lower, significantly lower than a hero like Tracer, and that also hurts Mercy in the fact that if you play versus some compositions at a higher level, you literally cannot play the game. You cannot play the game. You could be the world's best Mercy, but there is a ceiling to how good you can get with the hero and how much you can get out of the hero. Let me wrap this up in as simple as I possibly can. Here's what I'm advocating for. There's two camps that you can be in, and you could be somewhere in between, but you have to communicate it, okay? There is skill camp, or there is, pardon the term, but we're gonna go segregate it, okay? Skill camp means everything is viable. Everything. In other words, when you play Moira versus playing Mercy or Zenyatta or Ana, every hero has a high skill ceiling. Everything rewards skill. Everything. And what that means is that some aspects of some heroes are hard to get good value out of, but you are rewarded always for inputting almost to an almost limitless amount for putting in skill into a hero. And when I ask you what heroes fall into this category, there's going to be a few that immediately come to mind. Tracer, Winston to an extent, I guess Ana to an extent. Like it's messy at some point, even Zenyatta to an extent, right? Now, the segregated one is a camp where we have weak and strong. And you would say, you know, Moira, you know, Bastion, you know, you'd have Mercy, you know, you'd have Junkrat, right? And then strong, you would have, you know, your Tracers, you know, you have your Genjis, and you'd have your, you know, Winstons, and so on, right? You have heroes that are easy to play, but are balanced to be noob friendly, but have a very low ceiling. Like you can't play Junkrat at a high level. I'm sorry, it's not allowed. Or you're not. Mercy is you know a decent pick up until around Masters, but she's not a good hero to pick in higher ranks, right? And then you get the heroes like these heroes, which are hard to play, but have a big or very rewarding. You know, Genji is going to be really hard for our lower ranked players, but as you get better at the game, you know, there's just noob heroes. Now, here's the problem. Overwatch doesn't do either. It doesn't do either. You have, look at this list here, right? Overwatch has had Mercy at a very high pick rate with a very low skill expression. This has also happened with Junkrat. This has happened with Roadhog. And yet we have also simultaneously had times where we saw Tracer over here. We are currently still, and have been for a while, in a position where Genji's over here. And was for a long time. And even to a lesser extent, Winston. They've said they want every hero to be playable, but you cannot do that unless you do this philosophy. If you want every hero to be playable, then every hero has to have some variation of rewarding skill to value ratio. Has to be equal. And if you don't, then you're going to have a garbage game philosophy, garbage balancing. And this is why win rate doesn't tell you the whole story. Because it doesn't factor in the skill floor, value ceiling, all that kind of stupidness into the hero at all. You want every hero to be rewarded? Well, I'm sorry, Roadhog mains, you don't get that. You don't deserve to be playable for the amount of effort that you put in versus a Winston player. Moira, sorry, you're just not as hard to play as Ana. I'm just sorry. So either we need to change Moira and reward skill expression more, or Moira's a noob hero. There is no in between. Same thing with Doomfist, right? Why is a Doomfist a niche hero that's not even good at the higher ranks when he takes infinitely more skill expression than a lot of the other tanks? Why? Why is that allowed? And the problem here is that we have heroes like Genji and to a lesser extent Winston, you know, Ana, I guess not as much Ana, but there's a lot of heroes that are just not rewarded for being good at them. And there are even aspects within those heroes, like for example, when we talk about Sojourn, okay? Trying to think of like what a good, okay, let's actually talk about this. Here's a great example, Orisa. Chat, Orisa was very popular for a period of time, especially when Roadhog was around, and a lot of people were rightfully complaining about Orisa's strength. Her win rate was too high. Pick rate was too high. Now, ladies and gentlemen, what is the most skillful aspect of Orisa? What are some of the more skillful aspects of Orisa? And what are some of the least skillful in the Orisa? Javelin, okay, that's a good. Javelin is a little bit too big of a hitbox, but it takes skill, okay. Cooldown timings, cooldown rotations, okay. What is the biggest noob, too easy of a thing about Orisa? What's a noob stomp? What's the thing? What is the thing that makes Orisa so dumb to play and not even challenge for? Right. Survivability. Now, whether you want to say that's the low cooldown on javelin spin, the fortify HP, the lack of headshot, which doesn't reward skillful play into the hero. And when they nerfed Orisa, what did they do? They reduced her gun damage at medium range. Why? Why? Why are you doing this? One of the few unique and interesting things that showed skill expression and rewarded talent, and you kept her survivability at basically the exact same thing, the easy part of the hero, because of the spear one-shots, right? The one interesting part, the spear one-shots. Now you could say, well, the spear was too easy to hit. Okay. I could agree with that. Shrink the hitbox of the javelin if we need to. I agree. I think I've hit a lot of javelins that should not have hit. But why are you doing the most fun and interesting part of the hero, the part that also made her relatively unique? And why are you leaving her survivability as it is? So why? And this is the problem. This is the problem. When you look at the hero cast, too many times you have heroes that have been nerfed in all the wrong ways. In all the wrong ways. Or buffed in all the wrong ways. And that's the problem. Right. Mercy, damage, boost, and res. Right. So they removed the GA skill expression. They made Mercy a much less rewarded for being skillful. So again, I want to go back to my point here. You have to pick your poison. Do you want to balance around these are strong heroes, these are weak heroes, and we balance accordingly? Or noob heroes, these are, high level, high skill ceiling heroes. Or do you want to make all heroes viable? But then in that instance, you do have to make sure that all heroes have relatively similar skill curves. And you can do something in between. Like you could say that Moira is viable at Grandmaster, she's just not viable at Overwatch League level. So what we're going to do with Moira right now is we're going to leave her power level the same, where she's still viable at Grandmaster, but we're going to make her a little bit trickier to play. So it's a little bit less of a noob stomper. You could do that. But but they didn't do that, chat. They buffed Fade and Cole. They made nothing about her trickier to play. Oh, here's a great idea. Nerf Moira's self-sustain from right click or damage orb or something like that, and then give her Cole and Fade. To where maybe her net power value is the same at the top, but it takes a little bit more thought to get there. But this has been an issue in the entire game, and this has been an issue for a long time, guys. No, I agree with that assimilator to an extent. But this is why, okay, so this kind of goes back to my initial point about the Mercy identity. The problem is you have to know, not only know your game philosophy design, like your philosophy of how we're balancing the game, is it one of the two camps that I described earlier. But then within that, you also have to know what is this hero? Where is this hero's skill expression? What is fun about playing Ana, and what is not fun about playing versus Ana? As a tank, it just feels unfun to get slept because it's a low skill play on a tank. Okay, then we're gonna make balance adjustments accordingly. Okay? What is unfun playing versus a Moira? Well, damage orb just feels like totally skillless and like there's no aim required. What is not fun as a Moira player? Well, it feels like I don't contribute enough to the battlefield. Then adjust those numbers accordingly. What is unfun about Cassidy? Well, sticky grenade, it's a skillless ability. Okay, what's fun as a Cassidy? Well, I mean, sticky is come on, guys. Like, how fun is sticking as Cassidy? It's not fun. So they gave him an ability that was not only not fun for the Cassidy, but also not fun for the person playing against the Cassidy. You know, same thing with Kiriko. What's fun is Kiriko? Heal botting? No, it's not heal botting. It's taking angles and dueling in DPS. So then why was Kiriko allowed to have basically one of the highest HPSs in the entire game for as long as she did? Right? And you could go down the list here, right? Like, what's fun about Junkrat? Well, the 2-taps, the 1-shots. What's not fun versus Junkrat? Well, the 1-shots. Okay, maybe we need to revisit how this hero is designed then. And I do not trust the balance team with these reworks, if these reworks are even going to happen. Keep going down the list here. Like, you guys follow me, right? Like, when you have heroes like Bastion, for example, that there's only so good that you can get at Bastion. And it is a noob stomper. It's just a poorly designed hero. Sombra, that's another one. Jeez. What's fun? Like I don't even want to think about Sombra. Sombra is a big, giant mess of a hero. But you can't go, oh, Sombra's win rate is too low. I'm sorry. Sombra is a bad design hero. She's frustrating to play against always, for everybody. So you have to factor in the quality of the hero design about whether they deserve to be higher rank. You know? I'm sorry to be that guy, but it's just the truth. So I guess all that being said is we have a major problem because we don't know where Blizzard's camp is. I think it's probably more leaning in towards fun, where every hero should be viable. But the problem is they have their cake and they eat it too. They say every hero should be viable, but then they don't make the skill expressions equal from all heroes. And then they pull this garbage out like win rate, never looking at the context of whether and when that win rate actually makes any sense. Like, for example, if we look at where's Genji? Where's Genji? Am I blind? We talked about this, right? Why is Genji win rate probably so high? Because Nanoblade. Guess what, chat? There is nothing more frustrating as somebody playing into a Genji than Nanoblade. So you should go, hey, this here is being carried by Nanoblade or damage boosted blade. It's also very frustrating to play against. Let's worry about Nanoblade. Cheers. Thanks, mate. Yeah, I'll check it, Dolos. Give me a sec. But like you can't, like for example, oh, Widowmaker's win rate is fine. Yes, but Widowmaker, as you guys saw in my video the other day, is way too strong in niches where she's good. And complete garbage in niches when she's not. So if we're going by the Overwatch 2 dynamic, a lot of heroes are viable in different circumstances, this hero is a complete failure. A complete failure. Like, you have to think about this, like, you can't, like what they say, lies and damn lies and statistics or whatever they say, like, you can't just say, what's going on here? You can't just say, oh, win rate is, we live and die by win rate. Like that's just cringe, man. Like, it baffles me. Like, maybe that's just the way that they're communicating it with the community, but they're doing a horrible job of it, respectfully. Okay, let's take a look at this. So, value and skill. Right. So it seriously plateaus as Mercy. The better you get, you don't get rewarded. As much with Mercy, which is a major problem. Widowmaker, this is, more of what we expect to see, right? But the funny thing is, even here, even when you're the GOAT at Widowmaker, there's still a vast majority of maps and situations where Widowmaker is literally just a troll pick, right? Tracer is more flat, more linear, right? This is actually kind of an interesting one from Pharah, where like, yeah, when you're really good at Pharah, you're able to figure out the situations that are good. But like, you look at this and you would like to think that this is more of a healthy way of looking at the game and that this is not as healthy, right? Yeah, I don't know. It's a good graph, Dolos. Thank you. They don't ask the question why enough. I mean, I think that's the thing that ticks people off like me the most, is where it feels like we get thrown statistics, but I'm not asking for Genji to be stronger. We're asking for Genji's ceiling to be higher. Not for Genji to be stronger at all ranks all the time, but for Genji's ceiling to be higher. For Mercy's ceiling to be higher. Right? For Moira's ceiling to be higher and her floor to be lower, or however you want to interpret it. I didn't have any discussion with the no. The best thing that I could contribute is when we had the Overwatch League Discord, we did have a lot of discourse with some of the devs in there. The best thing that I could say that I tried to hammer at the Sojourn changes, which they didn't listen to. I feel like there was one change that they made that I helped with. I don't remember what it was, or at least I was one of the main voices that was ended up changing, but I can't remember what it was. I honestly can't remember. It was something early in the beta. But like, you have to factor in how skill expressive the hero is, how quality the design is, and then go accordingly. And we just don't know these things. Now, this is the real concern, because we've had these issues for years, but the real problem, ladies and gentlemen, is that this isn't likely to change. And I think that's the most depressing part right now, is that we have honestly a very rushed hero in release. Very rushed hero on release, and a hero that was clearly in still beta stages. And you know, they're gonna put stuff that makes money, right? They're gonna keep releasing new heroes because new heroes equals people want to try the hero out, you know, skins, things like that. And so we're talking about things like, this hero needs a rework. This hero probably needs something of a rework. This hero definitely needs a rework. This hero needs some changes. This hero still needs some changes. This hero almost certainly needs some changes. This hero still needs a lot of changes. This hero arguably probably needs some changes. Her mouse one is still too weak. She just feels really not that fun to play nowadays. This hero definitely needs some changes. This hero needs some changes with cooldowns. This hero probably could use a couple of changes. This hero definitely needs changes. This hero needs a lot more changes. This hero arguably deserves changes as well. Kiriko's fine. Reaper, I don't know. Reaper just falls into this who cares category. Mei is probably honestly fine. Ana's probably fine. Echo's fine. Needs changes. I mean, do you see a pattern here, guys? Like, this is a problem, y'all. This is a problem. I'm not even halfway through. And it's not going to happen. We're going to keep churning out new heroes that are, you know, not particularly well done. And we'll see. Like, Junker Queen, Sojourn, and Kiriko were reasonable enough. But it's not like with the added pressure of adding new heroes that this is going to get any better. So we have so many heroes in here that are either not particularly good designs or not rewarded for skill expression or rewarded too much for low skill expression, and that's not likely to change. And what's going to make money is new heroes. But the problem is you know, this is the mobile game design. Like, outside of a few games, like I think like Elden Ring, Age of Empires, there's a lot of games right now where it's just about putting out stuff and monetizing as fast as you possibly can, even if the quality is not that good. And I know that's probably the direction that we're going to continue to go. I'm going to keep speaking out against it, because it's in my best interest to keep the game competitive. And I also just think it's wrong. You know, like, I don't like it. I really strongly feel that way, and I'm going to say it. So am I expecting things to change? No, I'm not, but I'm going to still say it anyway. Now, we could sit here and theorize why this is the case. Is it Moneybags McGee, you know, just churning out new heroes? Is it incompetence from the developers? Is it bad leadership without having... Because, like, remember, the big thing is that, like, what are the identities of so many of these heroes? I don't know. I don't know Blizzard. I don't know the developers. I don't know if there are good developers that are getting handicapped. I've been in that position before where I've received criticism because of the team, but when it wasn't really my fault. It happens, right? So, but I will say that it is really concerning that this is kind of like what we're dealing with here. Yeah. You guys have any thoughts? AoE 2 so well balanced, right? Such a great game. It's been around for ages, and it's continually well balanced. Can you put skill sync into a measurable thing? Yes. So let's talk really quickly about this. Really quick, so everyone's on the same page. Value floor, value ceiling. Value floor is how good a hero is when played at base competence. So, like, let's say a hero like Moira is very powerful when played at base competence, but a hero like Doomfist is not as valuable when played at base competence. I would rather have somebody playing Moira who's at least picked up the basics of the hero, because they're going to do more than Doomfist would, right? This means more of a noob encouraged hero, but it might also just be that the hero is just relatively strong. For example, Kiriko had a very high skill ceiling, but still had a very high value floor, because Kiriko's healing and ultimate were so strong that you didn't even need to know all the nuances of Kiriko to get value. Value ceiling is how strong the hero is when played at a very high level. For example, if we look at something like Tracer, very high value ceiling when played very well, or something like a Roadhog, even when you master the hero, you're still not putting out a lot of value on the hero, right? Relative strength of the hero when played very well. Okay, then we move on from here to skill floor and skill ceiling. Skill floor is how much skill it takes to play the hero at base competence, right? So how long does it actually take to get the basics of fill in the blank hero, right? So a hero like, let's say, skill floor would be like a Junkrat, right? It doesn't take much skill to get the basics of Junkrat, right? Now, whether that hero is strong at the base is depending on the meta and the strength of the hero, right? But Junkrat is a very easy hero to pick up, whereas a hero like Genji, much harder to pick up, right? Much harder to pick up, which means that you should theoretically see this represented in their value floor. The goal is to have these numbers be relatively the same. The amount of effort that you put in, skill, rewards you with the amount of value that you get. But if we were to put Genji and Junkrat up here, you guys could probably guess that the value floor of Genji and Junkrat would be about the same, if not actually Junkrat with a slight advantage when played at base competency. And that's the problem. Last thing here to finish it up is skill ceiling. How difficult is it to master a hero? You throw in, let's just use our two things right here. Roadhog, pretty tricky, not super easy, but not anywhere near as hard as Tracer. So at least for these two comparisons, we like what these graphs look like, right? Tracer is rewarded compared to Roadhog. But unfortunately, this kind of healthy comparison doesn't exist in the entire game. I'm aware of how people define it, Nodlin. I don't care how other people define it. This is how I define it. I think it goes either way. I find this one more easy to understand, especially when we're splitting things up into value and skill. So the problem here is that, like, if you compare like a Rat versus a Genji, it's too easy to get decent at Rat and outperform a Genji with the same skill expression in terms of value. How to quantify this? Now, that's the great question. I don't think you can. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think you can. I think you can definitely quantify value floor by win rates in lower ranks, and same thing with value ceiling and higher rank. But I don't think things like skill floor and skill ceiling, I think you can maybe compare pick rates in lower ranks compared to pick rates in higher ranks and see if there's any discrepancy there. But I do think that these are very, in the same way that we don't like win rate being used as an objective standpoint, I don't think that you can objectively say, oh, this is just how it is. I do think that you have to apply a little bit of common sense and play your own game at a high level to think about this. And I think that you would need some form of a committee, right? Don't take my word for it. A lot of people disagree with me. A lot of people are a lot smarter than me when it comes to this stuff. So you would need to have some sort of a committee and come to some sort of an agreement with this. But it's theory, right? It's theory that you can make educated guesses on, but it's still theory. Yeah. But you could make educated guesses here. Like, we listen, you guys in chat, we don't have to pretend that Moira is a high skill expression hero. We can all agree that Moira is a high skill expression here compared to what people think she is. There is definitely more value there than meets the eye, but she's not a high skill expression here compared to a Lucio or a Zenyatta or even a Mercy, right? So at the very least, we could use these basic parameters and metrics to attack low-hanging fruit. Let's address the outliers. Genji is not rewarded for the skill expression, right? Sombra is poor hero design. But we need to do something that leans into things that make her fun, right? So we don't have to make it perfect. You're not ever going to have a perfectly balanced game. It is impossible. But you don't need to. You're always going to have people like me complaining. Always. We're idiots, right? We do nothing but complaining. But at the very least, you can remove the variance. Yeah, but by committee, I mean a committee of developers who actually play their game. I don't mean by committee of like, I meant, yeah. Reinhardt, Winston, Tracer, honest heroes. Now, people are going to be like, well, Ana and Zen, and I know Zen and Discord are controversial as well, but like, again, would you prefer a Zen meta? Or would you prefer a Moira meta? So I guess that's my take on it. I won't elaborate and go on and on and on a ton more, but this is my problem with the Overwatch Balance team, is that they use these statistics without context of why the statistics are the way that they are. For example, the win rate is higher for Genji because of the unfun to play versus hero things. Like if you think about it, like what inflates Genji's win rate is something that we don't even necessarily like. Like, I know as a Genji player that Nanoblade is fun, but it's also the most frustrating thing to play against his kit. So if I guarantee you 99% of Genji mains would be very happy if you buff the neutral and nerf Nanoblade. Yeah, I agree. That was one of the main takeaways we had with the SVB contest podcast with Awkward, myself, and IOStux, is that we would love to have the experimental card back so that they could actually experiment and test changes. The problem now is, especially without that in PTR, live is literally the testing ground. And I don't trust the developers to do that. I just don't. That is true, Voidstar. That is actually very true. That's true. So it's a shame that experimental is in La La Land, because it is exactly what needed to be used to actually try some of these changes. I wouldn't say Discord needs to be a skill shot, but maybe it's something that actually takes a little bit more thought and decision making, and it isn't something that you can spam as much. But yeah, I don't want to go down the Discord rabbit trail, but I mean, I don't disagree with you that the Discord is the most frustrating part of Zenyatta's kit, and it's also the easiest to play. Okay, that's my rant. That's my rant. I care about this game, y'all. Like, there's aspects of this game that are so unique and so special about this game. So, you know, that's the problem. I'm not a doomer. I think the game will probably be fine for quite a while and playable. Nice round. Pre-Millennia, thanks for the sub. But this is and this has been a thing for a long time. This has been a thing for a long, long time. As long as I've been playing the game. Really. So I would just like to see some of those changes at least coming in that direction. But honestly, you know, who knows? Okay. Oh, thank you for the continuation of the gifted sub. Big shout out to Timothy for initializing that whole starting that whole thing. All right, now, chat, I'm going to give you a heads up. I'm going to do something super strange. I've had a couple of comments on my videos and Twitch streams where the audio quality, now I know that there's echoes. Echo! I know that. Not a lot I can do about that right now. But people are saying that, oh, the volume limiter, you need to establish a limiter. It's like completely destroying my ears when you scream and rant, whatever. But yet, I have a limiter already on my mic, on the mic, like look. Whoops, that's not what I wanted here. Yeah, noise gate, limiter, it's there. And I've done it before where I've like yelled and it doesn't red bar. So I don't know what they're talking about. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm gonna yell. I'm gonna make some noise. So just volume warning. I don't think it should. I think it definitely peaks, which gives it the distorted sound. But I think in terms of like actual decibels, it doesn't reach a particular level. I need y'all's help though. I need you guys to tell me if the volume, does it sound loud or is it actually loud? Do you know what I'm saying? Cause it's people are like, oh, and I'm like, I think it's just like they hear it peaking, so therefore their brain says it's really loud even though it's not really loud. Yeah. So warning, I need y'all to, this is a science test. So how are we? You know, it'd be fun. What should I give me something to yell? But was it loud? Because did you guys see that? It didn't break red unless I missed it. It didn't break red. I mean, you guys can literally see it. So did it? Yeah, my mic sucks. I mean, that's fine. I need healing is a great option. Okay, let's try this again. I need healing! We good? Okay. But was it painful? I know it's going to sound abrasive. Can you feel my heart? How is this educational? It's not loud but painful? What does that mean? What does that mean? Why didn't you nano May? Why didn't you nano me? Oh, I thought you said May for a second there. It sounds really loud in the higher frequencies, but it isn't loud overall. Okay, somebody walk me through this. Somebody, I'm boomer here. Please help me. What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? Help. Help, please. Help, Grandpa. So, is there any like adjustment that I could do here? I'm not a guru. This says, is there an anti-aliasing setting? No, just experiment. But that's the thing is I don't know. We could try this again. Limiter. Maybe we go that to here. I think that means it doesn't get louder. Hey. Yeah, see, there you go. So what if we do this? What if I increase it to 1.5? So now it will never go higher than 1.5. Hey! Try that. 1.5. Yeah! How is it? The real solution is a better mic. Yes, but money. Okay. 1.34159. Ah, hilarious. So I moved it by 0.5. Maybe if I go like, let's just try it to 2. Maybe is 2 too aggressive? Hey guys, hello. My name is Spilo here. Hey there, hi there, ho there. Ho, ho, ho. Yeah! How was that? It's the pitch that hurts. It's not that loud. Okay. It's the same. So maybe we leave it at -2 then, because that's like a little bit of an extra, little bit of a seatbelt here. Go -5. Well, I'm already at -5. That's where I'm at. Okay, let me jump ahead to like, hey, woo! Maybe if I go to like 4, because that's like below where the I think this is what it means. Okay, look at the compressor. Yeah, sure. Well, let's try one more time with the limiter at 4. Is there a difference? Yeah! 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 Is that changed? Was that different at all? Oh. Do I have neighbors? Yes, but they're far away. Well, not far away, but they're, you know. Okay, compressor. Am I keeping this up? I have practice. Not different, but -4 dB is a good value. Is this the problem with Blizzard balancing? Yeah, pretty much. Increase the ratio. Increase the ratio. Is that, I need confirmation that that is something worth trying. Because I don't want to like assault people's ears. Okay, I will try. Would 10, does 10 matter? 10? Dolos, I'll check your DM in a second. Would 10, should I try 10? Somebody give me something to yell. For content. Do it for the Vine. Hang on. Hanging. It's high noon? Okay. Good morning, Vietnam. I'll do... Ish... It's shy noon? Okay. It's high noon! Try to give you a little bit of high-low there. Just a little bit. You idiot. Okay, we'll do that one next. How did it sound? Is there any difference at all here? Like, I feel like we don't need to change it that much if it wasn't already red barring, but... Just uninstall. You were the chosen one? Alright, we'll do that one after you idiot. How about, should I try boost? What, is there any other setting I should toy with? Because as much fun as it is to scream and holler and yell. Hi! We're doing an audio test. Live. Lower the threshold a bit as well. Like, what's a bit? It was at 18, right? To 20? 20? The volume is way lower now? Way lower? Should I then I move the mic thing up a little bit then? To compensate? You idiot! Because I also know that when I'm doing the stream recordings afterwards, my mic is actually pretty quiet in normal recordings. So maybe the compression needs to be, or whatever it means, needs to be better. Because whenever I upload to Vegas, I actually have to bump my mic or the recording volume a little louder compared to like the average YouTube video. It's a non-linear scare. Let's go. We're part of a black metal band. No, although I do have some metal vocal practice, but how much you lower the threshold by? So I lowered the threshold by 2. So then I should bump this up by 2, right? 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 No, actually my voice is fine. If you know how to do it, it doesn't hurt. Am I scaring my cat with this? Unironically, no. My cats are used to this. Okay, okay. All right, how's the volume? How's the volume? Right, right. I figured that as much, Void Star. So hopefully this works. What am I yelling? What am I yelling? Somebody give me something to yell. We'll try one more time. Good on low. Whoa, 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 whoa. Anakin, I have the high ground! Try to go for more high frequency there, because I know that was what was making people's ears bleed. Okay. Thank you guys so much. Highs sound awful? Okay. Well, I don't know how to fix that. DM? Alright, Doulos. What do I got? Okay, let's try this out. To lower the recorded sound. Am I being baited? Is this gonna like record the overall sound pitch? Yeah, listen, I'm not concerned in increasing the sound quality. I know it's gonna suck. There's not a lot I could do there. It's more about like I don't want to be like painfully agonizing people's ears. Okay, okay, well we can try this then. Filters. Open yes, it's like the audio source you want to adjust. Regular noise select filters. Okay, ChatGPT will never take my job because I look great in booty shorts. And does ChatGPT look great in booty shorts? I thought not. Why am I so stupid? Where is this? And add a new filter. Am I missing something? Where is select pitch shift? There's no pitch shift filter. Am I being baited? I'm being baited. Just low pass filter? I'm being baited. Being baited. What does invert polarity do? Oh. What is invert polarity? Probably need to install a plugin. Why even have a plugin that doesn't even do anything? I do sound different? What do I sound like? Now I'm kind of curious what I sound like. Somebody clip it. Somebody clip it. I want to hear. Hello, everybody. My name is Spilo. Haha. I love grilled cheese. Ha 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 ha. Somebody clip it. I want to hear it. Do you have a 3-band equalizer? Well, you could see. Limiter? No, I don't know. I don't know, man. Maybe that's new to OBS. I don't know. I need to like. I do need to. I think OBS has an update that I haven't done here yet. I do sound different. What do I sound like? Now I'm kind of curious what I sound like. Somebody clip it. Somebody clip it. I want to hear it. Wow, that's boring. I thought it was going to be like way different. Like you're in a cave. Oh, okay, fair enough. You think singing for this is a chance to win next tournament? Sure. Yeah, I definitely need to update OBS and stuff. I don't know. I feel like people are telling me to use Streamlabs as well. I don't even know, bro. I'm like boomer mode. Okay, well, okay. Chat, can we confirm that overall that there's less ear assault than there was before? Is that? Well, yeah, I know, but it's not like official Streamlabs. You know what I'm saying? Overall, much better. Okay. So if I scream and like fire off random gunfire, it's going to be less painful. Thank you guys very much. I really appreciate you guys doing this. This was like actually such a concern for me. So watch video guide. Yes, thank you. Okay, thank you. All right, chat. Here's the deal. So Overwatch League starts this week. So we're gonna have, I don't know what our plan was with Overwatch League. I really don't know what the plan is with Overwatch League. Like I don't know if I'm gonna do a companion stream or not. Honestly, because I'd only be able to do a companion stream for one match. And are people gonna watch a companion stream for one match? I honestly don't even know. Like I don't even know. So I'm planning Tuesday will be my Overwatch League match breakdown stream. Thursday will be a variety stream, kind of like what we did today. Ask Spilo, random crap. Saturday will be shorter stream / maybe like some Ask Spilo before Overwatch League starts at 3, and then we do like one companion game. Companion stream is just basically where I'm watching the Overwatch League game like a VAS, you know? And just like comment on what's happening on the screen. But I can't, but are people going to be interested in the companion stream for only one game? Because I'm only going to be able to do one game. So I'm still trying to figure it out. The good news is that there's no more there is Overwatch League this Thursday. But in the future, there's no more Overwatch League on Thursday. At least for the next month and a half. Chili, thank you for the sub, mate. So we don't have to worry about Tuesday and Thursday streams. Saturday's the only thing I don't know what to do. Because companion streams are fun, but they're more fun when you do them for like an extended period of time. And I'm only going to be able to do one game. So I don't really know. Okay, I will update. I'll update. Thank you, Assimilator. But yeah, anyway, so we'll figure it out. We'll try and figure it out. Now, here's what my plan is for Overwatch League. I'm gonna try to do one match breakdown per week. Might not be able to every week, but we'll aim for one match breakdown every week. You know the routine. 3.5, 4 hour breakdown using the YouTube VOD, because screw me, because replay viewer. And then I do want to have it's going to depend on the week-to-week match. I'll let either you guys will vote for it. Usually I'll let you guys pick it out unless there's something that stands out to me. And then in addition to that, I would like to do a weekly short video series, which I'll probably record off stream, like 10 to 15 minutes, breaking down if there's a really weird composition or a really weird strategy that was played at any point in time during the weekend. I'd like to break that down and explain what the strategy was supposed to accomplish, why they were playing it, and the overall mentality behind it, and why it succeeded or why it failed. I think that might be kind of a cool insight. I had some ideas of doing like top 5 underrated plays of the week, but honestly, I realized that series is going to be a big flop if I don't have replay viewer, because it's just so hard to see what's going on if it's not directly on your screen. If it's directly on your screen, it's kind of hard to be underrated. So I would plan on doing some player POV breakdowns, but again, no replay viewer, so screw me. So it's going to be likely match breakdowns and then explaining any niche strategies or cool things that happened to try to explain why they did something. Maybe Shock uses 5 ults in a fight that was clearly already won. Why did they do that? Basically break down something like that. But we'll have to wait and see what's presented. And as always, you guys can check out the Discord if you guys have any suggestions for what you want to see. Anyway, all right. Loves and kisses. We'll be back this Thursday. Overwatch League is starting this Thursday, but we'll have probably a short stream leading up to Overwatch League anyway. We'll wait and see. But anyway, loves and kisses. I'll chat with you guys later. Thank you guys again so much for the help with the audio thing. That was a big problem. So anyway, loves and kisses. See you guys later.